welcome to the Exploding Heads Horror Movie Podcast, episode number 218. Wow, 218. Dario and Christ in the house.
Chris with sporting the shortest do he's had in years.
Look at this guy, looking freaking dapper and a little young.
Well, this is it. When I clean shave, I look like a little kid.
It's the haircut.
It's funny that everybody jokes about Saw and that to make Tobin Bell look to make him look younger. They put his hat backwards. I swear, I was well, no, I'm going back. This is when we did that sketch show way back. So this is a few years ago as well. So you got to realize that. But I put a hat backwards and I was clean shaven, and I think it worked. It really did work. Fuck this de-aging shit.
That's what we'll do.
Hat backwards.
That's what we'll do. If we make our movie, we make sequels, and somebody has to look younger, we'll just put a backwards hat on you, and you could be in it. And hey, Christian in a flashback before they bought that videotape from that store, and
that'll be the name. That'll be the name of the movie, Christian in a Flashback.
Honestly, it would probably sell because people love those long titles that are like artsy. You know what I mean?
It is not necessarily my name, but in a flashback, someone's name in a flashback is actually a really cool title.
Definitely. I think it would work. I mean, this is what I don't get. In all these horror movies, we have these really cool creative titles. Like something like that, Christian in a Flashback or something, what Josiah saw. We see all these freaking like titles nowadays, and it's like, then at the same time, you see other movies that regurgitate old one-word titles and think nothing of it, and it's just like, oh, it's another Boogeyman movie, or there's another, how many times does that happen? There's so many titles out there.
Maybe that would be a better. So my title was Happy Trails for the movie. That again,
it's a great title for a slasher.
Well, again, so I like it, but it could also be Audrey in a Flashback.
Audrey in a Flashback. Well, now you're giving away the plot. What are you doing? Shit, you better scratch that. Damn.
Censored. No, it's fine. It's all
Audrey
good. It's all good.
In a Flashback. Hey, where did Audrey come from, by the way? What's the inspiration?
I was looking. Well, again, I was trying to do a dual, like a play on the two sort of main girls and whatnot in characters, and it was a combination of I think what I was researching are just strong female names.
Strong female names, like characters that exude some type of strength.
Yeah, and right? Just from,
it's
that of course would be through actions and whatever you built, but just in a name, I can't even believe I'm about to quote Shakespeare because I'm one of those in school that hated, it was just, the way my mind's wired, Shakespeare was just not for me at the time. Like anything in life, and again, I don't even know if I have that much of appreciation. I have appreciation based on historical, but I haven't read enough of his works to say, man, I'm a fan or anything like that, like by any means. But because now I've lost it, but it was like, what's in a name or something. This is what I was going to make a reference to.
Rose by any other name?
Yeah, but maybe I'm not even quoting the right thing. See,
don't look at me, man.
The great thing. No, I think I read Romeo and Juliet, Macbeth, and
Othello.
For whatever reason, I thought it was King Lear.
Midsummer Night's Dream.
So there's three in high school, and I've never really gone back. Unfortunately.
Can you believe they used to show us Romeo and Juliet? No, I never go back to anything from school. I just don't. I kind of like Shakespeare is kind of interesting. There's a reason the guy is still being discussed how many years after his death. Obviously, these stories are fantastic stories or something. I just have trouble with the old English, if you will. You know what I mean? But honestly,
I hear you. Decipher. I'm like, dude, I'm still learning English in the sense of like, that I'm half joking, but that's how my mind's working. Like I got to get my grammar down properly and everything else. Now, and I know this is high school and you're supposed to have that down well before then, but I really don't think I necessarily did. There's still times now where I'm like, does this does this go this way or my sentence structure, although I think might be right or could work, might not be the proper way of doing it, grammatically
Right.
correct or whatever it may be. And here we are learning, and then I have to now decipher like the meaning of what he's writing in, in the way that it's presented in English, and it's not common the way that he writes it.
No, no, it's
Which is
it's
why I guess
different.
is why you study it. But ultimately, I'm like, yeah, just give it to me straight. Give me the Cliff
Yeah,
Notes version.
straight shooter, right on. Yeah, give it.
Give it Da
It's like
Vinci
the
Code, this
witch.
motherfucker.
I love the witch. Look at the way they talk, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
like assholes the whole time. Just kidding.
assholes. He says. Oh shit.
I think I know where this came from, though. Not just from the lead in what we're talking about, but I don't think I've ever done this with a show before, save for, and not even Cobra Kai. Cobra Kai, I did watch like, the first two, maybe even three seasons more than once, which is not really common for me at all. And that's the only other show I can think of that I've done this with. Uh,
Wow.
but this is what I did for a show called Winning Time, The Rise of the Lakers Dynasty.
Oh, I've been
And
thinking about watching that.
it's not the documentary that's on
No,
Netflix. That's also on Netflix, and that I started that, and that was great too. But this is a
this is a
dramatization,
show.
a
Right.
show. I
Yeah.
watched the whole first 10 episodes. I started it here, like the first episode, downloaded a few, went away. This is 2 weeks ago, so since we filmed or recorded, I should say, listened to those two, watched those two on the plane, and binged the rest of the series on that
Wow.
same trip. I loved it so much. I just couldn't stop watching it. And then I got home, told my wife about it. And usually in these cases, when I'm so high on something like this, I'm like, wait, is it just me? Is it because I was traveling? Is there an extra heightened emotion
Right.
because I was on a plane, like
Right.
I've,
We've
I mentioned on
discussed
the
that.
show and everything else?
Yeah.
And then I looked at other people's reviews and I'm like, no, they seem to be good to great. Like, 7.9s, 8.5s, like per episode, like realistic ratings, in my opinion, for the show. And we ended up watching all 10 episodes in a row. Not like, over
Again.
over a course of another week. But yeah, I went
Wow.
literally back to back watching the first season of this series. I like the way the acting was phenomenal. It's a great cast. The acting to me
Hmm.
was phenomenal. They break the fourth wall all the time, which I love. And
Really? Huh.
uh and just the you're either going to like or not like this. And I was worried Carrie wouldn't like it, but she ended up loving it, which is that they make it look like it's filmed, and they make it look like you're watching video footage, uh, and or old polar, like old, like kind of like Bolocks 8 or 16 millimeter will be spliced in there as well. Not quite Natural Born Killer style, but kind of like that, where it just jumps between different formats, but it adds
Cool.
to it. There's another level. I didn't
Right.
find it distracting. I like the aesthetic, and the acting is what carries it through. And like, total recommend. Now, again, even if 50%
Damn.
of this is accurate or whatever, it was bonkers of what would happen. Like, so I wholeheartedly recommend it. Uh, Last time I think I did that, I mean, we've talked about the bear on the show. We've talked about a few shows. I think I really went off on,
The
or really
bear.
said that the bear was the one that is with Jeremy Allen White from
I
Lip,
forgot about
from
this.
Shameless, and The
Oh,
Rental,
okay.
whatever. It has two
Yeah, yeah,
seasons
yeah.
now. That's great. And there's a ton of great shows that I've seen, but the one time I think I went off and said, "Hey, I watched this one on a trip," was the one that was about the Sex Pistols. Pistol.
Oh,
And then
word.
Carrie
Right.
tried watching that and did not like that at all.
Right.
So then I was like,
Right.
"Ooh, is it like again? Is it me? Is it just that I was watching it when I was away? Like I said,
Maybe the
repetitious
character
already.
turned her off. Maybe she doesn't want
She,
to see Sid Vicious and Johnny
she
Rotten do
she wasn't a big fan
debauchery.
of the Sex Pistols anyway. She liked punk, but not
See.
necessarily the Sex Pistols. But I
Okay.
did like that show
Yeah.
because Danny Boyle was in charge. And it's been debunked since it's
Right.
been released. A couple of them said this is not really how it went down. They really
It
took
never
liberties.
is.
They didn't ask us for input, really. And I think it was more that they didn't get asked for input that they were pissed off about. more so than anything. But uh, hey, anyway, why take away from your enjoyment of a dramatization? Anyway, I mean,
Right.
if you want to watch a documentary, and even that's gonna, be presented to you in such a way. So
True. It does suck though. Like The Doors. Oliver Stone is one of my favorite movies, and I've seen it so many times, and I just love it. But I watched a YouTube video a few months back, just like debunking so many things that went on and saying this and that and everything else, and it was basically just like, yeah. It's a now. Like I'll watch it again because I love it, but it sucks when you have to hear about something else, and then all of a sudden you have a different opinion on it as a result. You're like, oh,
well,
so this and this is coming from
I love it
surviving
too.
members of the Doors and other things. And don't watch any video about it. Then don't watch about. Just enjoy the movie for what it is, but it's just like, I don't know. The thing is, once you watch that, that's the problem. That's why ignorance is bliss. That's why we're happier people the less we know. And I
Well,
believe that. I'm not going to get on that tangent because that leads to everything. But I'm just going to say,
ignorance is bliss.
ultimately, ignorance is bliss. We really can't change anything that's like been decided hundreds of years ago by people in a club that you and I aren't in. We really can't change any of that. And that's why ignorance is just do your thing. But let me step back and say shows, because I've been watching shows with my wife. There's two shows I want to recommend. One of them is called From, even though I know a lot of people have been talking about it the last 2 years because there's two seasons now. And we're only a couple episodes in and we stopped because we watched it when Francesca wasn't here. And then said she's probably going to watch it, so let's let her catch up. So then as we're waiting, we started this new show called The Changeling. And holy cow, that show. And the thing about The Changeling is, and not just that show, what's the other show? All American Horror Story, which just began its new, and I'll talk about that. But it's
Yeah.
like, it's so weird because not everything is bingeable anymore. And like The Changeling just has one show a week, much like what we do in the shadows. One show, and then you have to wait the week. And like, we're
I
so
like that. I
conditioned
still
now.
like that.
I do too,
Yeah.
because we're so conditioned to sit down and hammer to see a season of freaking Cobra Kai or Stranger Things or whatever they come out and go right through them. But now the wait, it's fun. It's like it used to be, back in the old days
We were
when.
talking about this, I thought, on the show, whether it be last or 2 episodes ago. Actually, Winning Time, it's the reason I found out about the show is because it started, and I thought it was the start of the show. It was the second season. And it was on Crave, which would be the equivalent of your. It's an HBO show, so up here
Right.
it's on Crave.
It's Max.
So,
Yeah.
so I ended up watching it and realizing, oh, there's 2 seasons, and they were doing the same thing, a new episode per week. So I had watched the first season twice over, and in that beautiful time frame, the final episode of season 2 dropped. So now we started season 2 last night, and we're able to watch that, and we can watch it at our own leisure. So I agree. I mean, one sentence I'm going to say, I like what you just said, and I appreciate that. But I also like the fact that now Carrie and I can watch 2 episodes if we want to, but we try not to. That's it. We'll save it and then wait a bit and then watch another one or two. But when it's forced upon you, like old school, it's not a bad thing. Told you Apple TV was. I was saying Apple TV did that.
That's what this is. That's
Yeah,
what The
okay.
Changeling is. Apple TV.
Well,
Dude,
that's
check
good.
it
I have
out.
it.
It's
I will
some
check
dude.
it out. Perfect.
It's some trippy. But the thing is, the style that it is. I'm going to compare it to American Horror Story because 4 episodes, 5 episodes in, we're not going to truly know what the hell is happening throughout the whole thing until it wraps up, unless they drop the ball and we don't get things explained. But it's one of those shows that when the last shot before the credits roll at the end of each episode, it happens and you're like, what the hell? It's just like you. And then something gets a little bit more exposed. See, and that's what American Horror Story, and that's what I talk about American Horror Story. I always say this. There are some seasons of American Horror Story that takes like 6 episodes before things start to come together the right way. Even if it's 13 episodes total or whatever, but that's what I like about it. I like, but then I realize it's not for everybody. Just like Horror Story, apparently, is not for everybody, and they've gotten to the point that like The Walking Dead's gotten to, where even the fans of the show, like somebody was telling me the other day, if you go on the message boards, which I wouldn't, because who hates things that they supposedly love more than people in message boards groups for those things? You know, it's like there's like a saying on the fish group. When somebody gets negative, somebody always comes in and says, they go, "Yeah, nobody hates fish more than fish fans." It's like a a smart expression that people use there. People want to complain about things, and
No,
it's just like,
it's
this is
like what we've
supposed to
been
be
saying for
fans.
horror fans
Well, true.
for years and whatever.
It's the same thing, but even American Horror Story now,
Fucking
this
people.
guy was telling me that it's like 2-1, and people of the fans of the show, that 2 are against it, and 1 is for it. You know what I mean? And I'm just like, well, I love it all. I don't know. I think you know me enough to know that I'm not a blind fanboy. If you know what I mean, like a Friday the
Oh, we talk
13th
about
one,
Friday 13th. Exactly.
right?
That's a
In
perfect
anything,
example.
I'll say it
Yeah.
with anything I love. If something comes out and I don't like it, I don't say, well, I have to love it because it's this. I don't say that about American Horror Story. I go in excited,
Or
but
modern wrestling. I'm sorry.
what can you do? You
I
know,
can't help not bring that up every now and then.
what's
What
the
can you
use?
do?
You know,
Yeah, that's
well,
what I'd
now
say about any
they're not
wrestling.
going to,
What's the
well,
use?
they're not going to be on Fox anymore since they got bought out by the new company that owns UFC. So now they announced it the other day, because and I've been saying this for years, eventually it was going to catch up. When they signed with Fox, I'm thinking, this is a show that was getting like 1.5 million views. That's not a lot, but I'm thinking, okay, now they're going to get more. And I guess they got 2.5 million their first episode, and then they lost like 40% of it after that. You know, after
This is
the first
American Horror
episode.
Story.
So no, I'm talking wrestling on
Okay,
Fox.
sorry.
So what happened
I
was
got you
this.
on that. I apologize.
No, it's
Yeah.
okay. So now they've only been holding 1.5 million to 2 million, and that's it. And Fox, and this is what I've been saying, Fox has got to be expecting 5 million views a week.
Are you
So that
sure?
Once
I
Upon
don't
a
know.
Time got it.
Well, Once
What?
Upon a Time was different. The numbers of what is
The
successful
90s.
now has
Yeah.
changed drastically. I
Well,
believe, just
yes,
based on the way we consume content and media now and everything.
that's
So
true too. But this is
maybe a million, a
live.
million and a half. Okay. Yeah, okay.
But this is live. It's, if you're a wrestling fan, and these people don't want to be spoiled, they want to watch it. And honestly, if you DVR something, as long as you watch it within the first 72 hours after the DVRing of the day of it, it still counts as watching it that
The
night.
DVRing.
Yeah, whatever they want to call it. After it's recorded, if long as you watch it within 2 to 3 days of recording or something like that, I forgot what it was, the Nielsen ratings count as if you watched it live.
Oh, that's interesting.
So
Okay.
yeah, because they've adjusted for inflation, I guess, if you will, for the times. You know what I mean? They
Inflation of
know what's
consumption.
going on. Yeah. That they see that now. They're like, okay, people are taping things. They're doing DVR, and then they're watching it the next day or maybe the day after that. But we know they're taping it that night, and they're making it a priority to watch it soon. So they figure all that in. And it's like they announced it the other day that they're going to be leaving Fox. And I'm like, I'm not one bit surprised. They're expecting 5 million. They're never going to get 5 million wrestling fans anymore. It's never going to happen. People aren't watching. So now, and that was on Fox, a national thing that was advertised. You watch Fox on Football Sunday, they show a picture of a wrestler and say, yeah, wrestling's on, the WWE on Fox. I mean, they're getting exposure, but people still aren't tuning in. So they got dropped. And we're just going to continue to see this over the next freaking 10 years. The expectations for ratings aren't what they are. Luckily enough for them, they'll survive because expectations are being lowered just in general. But still, the big shows do make a lot of, they do have a lot of viewers still.
Oh.
I mean, it's not like, like Game of Thrones and like a couple UFC things broke records. You know what I mean? So if somebody really wants to watch something, they're going to do it. Like live football still is always going to get its, I mean, that's the NFL. But anyway.
It's the American way.
Yeah. Back to American Horror Story.
Yeah. So you're 2 episodes in or one?
One. Just one. And I'm already on board because I love Emma Roberts and I like where the story is going. So far, just that's a 1 episode, but still.
Did you wait? I got to cut you off. Did you say Emma Roberts or did you say Emmer? Roberts, because are you going to become
Emma.
in your old age one of those ones that turns their A's and R's like I
I
dear
hope not.
Emma
I
Roberts?
hope I didn't. I hope I didn't say Emmer. I don't know. Have I been watching
Em-
a lot of UK people talk doing it? I don't know.
Sorry,
I don't know.
I thought I caught it and I had to bring it up before you went
Oh
on. Anyway,
man, I
I
wonder if
love
I.
Emma Roberts,
That means I'm
Emma
well.
Roberts, and
My brain's fried. So I love Emma Roberts, and this show, the way it starts, has the feel of old school American Horror Story. Is like last year was a different thing. It was like an episode. It was like watching that movie Cruising, but over 10 weeks, added with some more supernatural stuff. It was really cool, but different for that show.
cruising
The year before,
like Al Pacino
Pacino,
cruising. Oh yeah, William
yes,
Friedkin, whatever the hell you say his name.
yeah, Friedkin. Who's worse, me saying Emma or you saying Friedkin?
Me saying
Friedkin. It sounds like
Friedkin.
a freaking.
I lose.
It's like something you eat.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
Friedkin. So
that's true.
so that show had a feel, and the season before was one thing. The season before that, it was half one way and then half another way in the season. It was really weird. So it was like 8 episodes of one thing and like 5 episodes of another story. So, but now I like the way it starts. Kim Kardashian is just like any other actress in a freaking show. It doesn't bother me. People were really mad because of her
Oh yeah,
being in it, and I said I trust Ryan Murphy. I don't care. I trust the guy because he also cast Lady Gaga on American Horror Story season 5 Hotel when everybody was like, Lady Gaga's going to be in it. That's weird. They didn't hate on it because it's not Kim, but still. And then she did great. And Kim, I don't really, notice her being terrible as an actress or anything. She's just fine. People just like to overreact, just like Sherry Moon Zombie. They just like to overreact.
Paris Hilton, and well, I mean, maybe Paris Hilton was
She was fine.
in House of Wax, but yeah,
She was fine.
again, people
Correct?
just want to, yeah, they're looking for that in.
Well,
Well,
it's your
because
fault for knowing.
when talent when their apparent talent, and I'm saying apparent because I really don't know the ins and outs of any of these people, is that they're attractive or that they date famous people. I think that's what puts the big target on. So it just makes it
Yep.
easy. It's easy.
It
But
does.
again, like have I ever partaked in like whatever? Yeah, possibly. I can't. I'm definitely not innocent. I probably made remarks on this show numerous times before. Not about Kim Kardashian per se, but just someone like that in the past because it's easy and it could be funny, and I'm going for whatever joke I can go.
Yeah.
But ultimately, yeah, it's just that's human nature. Go for the easy target. They're overexposed, and so they bring it. A lot of people argue that they bring it on themselves. That's really where
Well, I don't
stems
think they bring it on themselves. I think the fact that people are watching their show validates them. So I've never seen Kim Kardashian on her show ever because I'm not into that type of stuff. As attractive as I think her and some of her sisters that I've seen are, it doesn't make me want to watch that show one bit. So I don't. I'm not going to contribute to something that I'm not going. I don't like
the Housewives of Beverly Hills or the Housewives of
I'll
whatever.
never watch something.
Yeah,
never.
Exactly.
Never.
No interest.
I have zero interest. So if you have beef with Kardashians, and it's because you've probably watched the show. So who's in the wrong here? You for supporting such freaking behavior and these shows and everything else, or me who says give everybody a chance because I don't know Kim Kardashian from the woman down the street. You know what I mean? I don't know. I am okay to give anybody. I've learned to give everything. Oh, here I am. See, now people are going to say, well, if you say give everything a chance, you won't watch these horror movies with a bad cover and this and that and the other thing. And that's true. But I will give an actor or somebody a chance. I'm not just like a remake. I'm not going to like The Exorcist and like everything else. And everyone's like hating before they're all coming out. I know nothing about the new one, but I love The Exorcist. But I am not about to sit here and say I can't condemn the movie that I haven't seen. I won't do it. Just like Suspiria. At first, when the idea came, I was like, you leave Suspiria alone. Well, you know what? Honestly,
Suspiria
this day and
alone.
age, yeah, leave it alone.
It's not like you or me.
Who knows now?
Yeah, who doesn't
Anything's
know?
possible.
Well,
some things are good that you don't expect to be good.
And you
Yeah,
have your thought and feelings on the VHS box art, or the VHS just box art or poster art for a movie. But if you heard enough people say no, give it a try, you would give it a try. This is just your initial
100%.
like, listen, I have a strategy that hasn't really failed me in the past, and I'm wanting to watch
Right.
just great movies. But if you heard something amazing about this from other people than Jason Smith and Scott Crawford, and other people have said it's
Right.
great.
True.
And
Sad but
guys, I'm not
true.
shitting on you. It's just Dave says you rate things
No, I
high,
love them.
high, high,
I
high,
do rate high.
and so that it
Yeah,
has to have more than
it's
for
okay.
your high ratings. But ultimately, you will give it a try. So I know exactly what you're saying, and yeah, that part I get.
And that's, I oh, watch out now. Little
What's
cat
that?
action. But
Oh.
leave her alone. Sky's chasing Ginny.
Leave
If
Virginia alone.
if Sky's not chasing Ginny, Lucky is. Poor baby. Poor baby. All she wants to do is live her life, and these freaking guys always messing with her. Poor thing.
Leave her
She's the
alone.
sweetest little thing. Yeah, live her alone. There you go. So what
I
were we saying?
wow.
We
I
were
would just
hold
check
on.
out for the rest of the show.
That's good though, live her alone. That's a horror reference. But what we were just talking about was
Oh,
Kardashian
yeah, her
and
being in the
what was
show
it?
and your enjoyment of the show.
Which is
Yeah.
well, yeah. I'm going to give it. Oh, I know what it was. I'll tell you what. If I saw a box art, a cover art that had the worst looking font, that as soon as I see it, I know it's trouble, and saw that worst artwork that I know is trouble, and I'm like, this movie shows nothing to me but turd, nothing but. If I look on Letterboxd and freaking it's consistent 4 stars from everybody, of course I'm gonna watch it. But guess
Yeah.
what? That doesn't fucking happen. Because
Yeah.
every time I see movies like that, I look and then I see 2.5. Maybe you see a 3, maybe you see a 3.5, but most of them is like 2.5, 3, sometimes 1, because some people judge harshly, just like some people rate high, some people rate too low when
Yeah.
something's a turd. If they're probably mad
Like
because they watched it.
maybe
Made it
me.
real,
I
real low.
do that sometimes. But again, I even tried to now because like what really at the end of the day, if you really hate something, shouldn't it be a 1? But
Yes.
what's that range of a 2 to a 4? Because at the end of the day, there's so
How
many
bad it
numbers
is.
there. Yeah, that's why like
That's what it is. How bad is it?
how bad is it?
How just like great. Just like my from 1 to 10. So I've said it before. 8 is great, and everything and everything higher depends on how great it is. It's the same thing with freaking 4 and below. 4 is bad, and 3, 2, 1 are worse. It's just how bad do you think it is? It's really
So like
hard for
yeah,
me to give
it's like
something a
6 is
1.
decent, 7's good, 8 is great,
Yep.
9 is
Yep.
excellent, 10 is awesome. That type of thing.
Basic.
5 would be
Fair.
average. And
See, I
again,
say
that's
average,
what I
but
said.
right.
I'm never consistent because sometimes I've said average, but I don't really like the movie, and I've just given it a 5. Uh, so again, it's
It's tough
I'm
sometimes.
very inconsistent with my things. That's why, and if I don't like, then usually it's just rated between a 1 and a 4 or a 0. But that's enough
That
about
could happen.
spookies.
Spookies. Shit. So, uh, the thing about these covers, though, man, like I just saw this movie coming up a couple weeks ago, and it said Elevator Game. And the second I saw that freaking thing on my MB and Letterbox, and I saw the font and I saw the picture, I said, "This is gonna be a turd." Then I saw that Shutter picked it up. I said, "This is weird. This is a weird title for Shutter to pick up because this looks like an independent movie." With that font and everything else, and the color of the letters, and where that you see on all these freaking junky freaking indie films that aren't very good, right? I'm just gonna call a spade a spade. I was like, why is this going to be on Shutter? Well, I didn't find out till after. Then, of course, I hear most of the people dissing it. So now I look a few weeks later, and I look and I find out that this is Rebecca McKendry's movie, who did really well with that movie, Glorious, before, but her first one was also not that great. All the Creatures Are Stirring. So I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
so she's made one good movie and a couple turds. But either way, I could see why they put her movie on that because she's in cahoots with them with the stuff she does. So that's fine. But when I saw the picture, it was, I've never seen a movie that looked that way, a cover art that way on Shudder. So I was like, this is odd that
What's
it's
an
on
elevator
Shudder.
game? What is elevator game? Because
I
didn't
didn't
you
watch it.
comment
I
that?
don't know.
Oh no, but were you the one that commented and say no? They're making a movie from this now, or was that not you? Maybe it was somebody else.
Yeah, I don't know.
They're making a movie based on this premise. Maybe it was like, obviously it was somebody else. I didn't even
I
know what
don't
the premise
recall
was.
talking.
What's an elevator? I have no clue.
I don't either. It might be the name of the movie. Could be nothing. I don't know. All I know is
Well,
that
no,
that's what it was called.
based
That's
on
what it
that
looked like.
comment, obviously it's something that is, I don't know, something that's spread around, and they took advantage of it and made a movie out of it, out of this
You think
concept.
so? You don't think someone could just make up their own concept called elevator game and make a movie?
Possibly.
About it?
I just say there's a comment made that they made. Oh shit! They've made a movie out of this concept. That seems kind of weak. So I'm literally basing this whole discussion or a point on this one horror fan's comment. So I have no clue.
So now you believe possibly that an elevator game is something
I
like
thought you made the comment, so I was asking it. Was it you? And so now I don't know, but obviously, like, yeah. Now I'm going to look it up just to prove you.
Look it up and see it. But I'm going to ask this rhetorical question once again. I've done it on the show. I'm going to do it again. I'm doing it right now.
How do you
what
play
is
the
it
elevator
about
game?
me?
You want to know how? Start the game at midnight. No. How do you play the elevator? Start the game at midnight, turn off your mobile devices, and put everything, anything away that could break your concentration. Make sure you're alone. Invite the passenger. Don't get out at any of the floors. Upon reaching any floor, check your surroundings. Reach the lobby to beat the game.
What now? Could you say that again? Because it was cutting out on my end.
How do we play the elevator game? Start the game at midnight. Turn off your mobile devices and put away anything that could break your concentration. Make sure you're alone. Invite the passenger. Again, there's a ... So obviously, I invite the passenger. Don't get out at any of the floors. Upon reaching any floor, check your surroundings. ... Reach the lobby to beat the game. Is this a video game?
Makes no sense to me. So get in a plane, get in the elevator, shut off your phone, go down at one of these floors, stop and invite someone to come in, and then get to the bottom and look around. How is that anything? It sounds like nothing to me. What's the game in that?
This is so weird. Elevator game's a ritual that will bring you to another world. This guy, fuck the elevator. I'm not even watching the movie on this principle.
Hold on. I'm not even concerned about the movie elevator game. I'm concerned about you say that it's a real game that exists, and I have to find out now. Okay. What is an elevator game?
Yeah.
Hold on. Let's do this the right way. See?
What is my Google game? Was the wrong way. Canadian Google led us astray.
Yes. What is the elevator game and how do you play? You're looking at the movie. Urban legend or portal to another world. The elevator game purports to blur the lines of reality for players.
Yeah. Sure. I'm not looking. That sounds like reality. Portal to another world.
Well, this is the game. Just hold on. Oh, I know why. Because they're talking about that Elisa Lamb at the Cecil Hotel. So because that happened in her
at the Cecil Hotel.
Room 515. Yes, freaking brilliant. So the elevator game or the elevator to another world is not for the faint of heart. Originating in Korea and Japan, it's essentially a step-by-step ritual.
They have elevators.
Believed by some to blur the lines of reality. The dates are unknown of origin. Blah blah. Okay, hold on. What's the game? Okay, how to play it. Step one. Let's say you're the player. You enter an elevator alone. Or all I know is that
Friedkin would never make a movie like this.
No. Well, see, check it, yo. Check it. Now, this is a whole different deal.
Oh, I'm not checking yo. That's for sure.
Then you ride.
Check it, yo.
I probably did. Then you ride the elevator from floor to floor in a specific sequence. Up to the 4th floor, down to the 2nd floor, up to the 6th floor, back down to the 2nd, up to the 10th, down to the 5th. Remember not to get off at any of the floors. Step 3, when you get to the 5th floor, if you encounter a mysterious woman, do not look at her and do not answer or interact with her in the way. The consequences of engaging with her are said to include the possibility of never returning to the real world. Step 4, push the button to descend from the 5th floor to the 1st floor. Here's where they say things could get crazy. If the elevator operates normally and takes you to the 1st floor, exit immediately and do not look back or talk to anyone. But if instead of taking you to the 5th floor to the 1st, the elevator begins to go up, well, congratulations. You're being allowed into another world, or so they say.
So actually,
etc.
as convoluted as that was, and I was laughing at it, it's actually a pretty cool premise for a movie.
Right. It's an urban legend.
I will actually say that now. I take it back. But yeah, I don't know what I was reading the Cliff Notes version, because that makes way more sense. Like, because it's talking about going from that floor to this floor to that one. Was it the movie? Look at
the origin. Yeah, because you said something about read this. You were basically reading a synopsis. It's going to take you to another. You were talking about a movie. That's what I got out of it. You were reading like a movie synopsis.
No, it wasn't the movie. It was just it was. I don't even know where it was now, because it's not.
No.
Now it's going back to. I shut her down. You're right.
Okay, but what is it about me? Back to how come there's
we don't have enough time. Show us a time limit.
No shit. There's another one. No shit.
What is it about me?
I was hearing about this movie 2 months ago, and knowing I have no interest in it. And the movie's called Natty Knocks. Now I'm going to show you the fucking awful.
They should have called it Natty Knockers, and I would have watched it.
Look at how bad that looks. That Natty Knocks. It looks like it was created on freaking.
I will say, if they got rid of the dripping blood, it wouldn't actually be all that bad. The dripping blood is what cheapens the font.
Right, but even if you got rid of that dripping blood, it would almost look too generic. Just that fucking red thing, Natty Knocks. Yeah. Anyway, here's the thing. I see that, and then I hear this, where everyone else gets excited. I immediately even more say to myself, it's going to be a piece of shit. Let me say it. Hold on. And I'll explain. Bill Moseley, Danielle Harris, Robert Englund. So I see people in horror groups getting excited about this movie and they want to watch it. Me, when I see that they're in it, it's a turnoff.
Yeah.
Nothing against any of them. They've been great in things they've done, but if they do anything now, and it's not involving Rob Zombie, Robert Englund's made a lot of turds. He'll do anything at this point.
They all have.
Good on him.
I would too. They've all been in turds.
All of them. But I know that this is going to be a turd, because that's all they make is turds, unless it's a Rob Zombie thing. It's true. It is true. When you look at that font, you know they didn't put any thought into it. And then you see these actors. Now, I know nothing about this. All I know is I'm predicting this movie is a piece of shit. Is it even out yet? I remember people have been talking about it. Did it come out? It's 4.3 on the B, which isn't horrible for a horror movie. Oh, guess who directed it? Dwight H. Little.
Oh, shit. Dwight H. Little. That's hilarious. Halloween 4.
Yeah, Mr. Halloween 4. Yeah.
And Getting Even. Don't forget Getting Even.
Yeah, Getting Even. All right.
Isn't it funny, July though, 21st. As you're saying this, the Friedkin jokes today, and the mispronunciation with the background. I mean, it's all actually really funny when you think about it.
Beautiful.
It's fucking ridiculous. No, Natty Knox. I'm taking off Natty Knox. The name sounds stupid. None of that is intriguing. I'm going to be honest. Nothing with Robert Englund's name on it makes me want to see the movie. Nothing.
No. Not at this point.
The only thing, and funny enough, Dwight H. Little, he worked with them in Phantom of the Opera. I liked that Phantom of the Opera with Robert Englund. We're talking about 1989. We're talking back in Freddyism time.
And Danielle Harris.
That's it. Like Robert Englund, like a lot of the movies he's been in, I've not been a big fan. When he cameos, it's okay because it's a small little role and whatever. But like, other than some of the early Freddys and that Phantom of the Opera, which is kind of Freddy-esque, let's be honest, and the only one that I liked him in at that time was Hello, The Adventures of Fred Fairlane. But it's because he's like a caricature actor and it works. Like it's kind of like that. Like you're putting it to 11 as you don't like, but really that's his acting style in a sense.
So, but what is it about me? I want people to freaking that listen to this show, that see something like that and they get excited. Tell me the difference. How come I see that and it's a turnoff? And you at this point, after seeing constant turd after turd after turd from these people. And this goes for all of them, not just these three. I'm talking about, unless it's a movie that's already a franchise. Tony Todd, what's her name? Angela, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, Felissa Rose. It's because of you've answered your question. It's all of them have become staples at the con fest, and it's injected new life. So you've got like legacy fans that line up and get their autograph or their picture and whatever, and love them and or want to meet them because of the movies that they were in from the 80s or yesteryear. And now you've got these new horror fans that are just getting into horror that are now meeting them and they like them and they've got great personalities. And I'm not like trying to shit on any of them. They all seem really nice, that check out their films, and now it's injecting new life. So people are like, okay, well, we'll get these. It's like that Death House thing. We'll get these.
Remember what I said? Yeah. The second I saw that, this is going to be a shit.
It was worse than shit. It was an absolute fucking turd. That's a 0 out of 10. That
you
really,
see what I tell you?
How
did I know?
That is a 0 to 10, and even more so for the marketing. Like, you knew, and I was trying to be like open-minded there, and that's when it backfires on you. Like, that was the worst piece of shit. And again, I'm talking about, there's different levels of shit. There's those ones I was talking about that are not even movies, that it seems like you can upload to Tubi. It doesn't even have to be a full-length movie. Looks like you can upload a half-an-hour movie. Looks like I can upload my student film if I wanted to. I just wouldn't, because it's already up on YouTube, but I wouldn't even put it up on anywhere else, because I don't know. If I'm going to do something, I want to do something new and fresh and be proud of it. I was proud of that back then. I'm not saying I'm not proud of it now. Now it's like, oh, like I should have done that. I don't like this. Oh, it doesn't even make any fucking sense. I'm so critical of it that I wouldn't even really want it. I almost want to take it down from YouTube. Anything else I want to put up fresh. Not to say it's going to be perfect. People could tear it apart left, right, and center, but at least it's fresh.
Yeah.
But I'm saying you could put up anything now and there, and those are most of them don't even have the where they don't even know how to make a movie. They're literally point and shoot with a camera, editing, and then they upload them and whatever. And very, very bad editing at that. And they're expecting people to watch them. And maybe some people do. But those are true 0s out of 10s, because there's just no artistic creativity. There's nothing going into these things. We're literally watching nothing, in a sense.
Crazy,
but
man.
It's even more insulting where there's a bit of a budget attached to them. So it's balancing that. Like, what's the bigger piece of shit? And I know I've come down on Spookies, but Death House is significantly worse than Spookies. Spookies was just like, there's again, if I've got the history right, there's like a half movie left incomplete. You know, someone picked it up and decided, okay, we'll fill it in with this footage and assemble it and put it out and market it. There are some great creature effects in there. I can give it that, but just that whole sort of assembly line movie making is what, like, I've should have come down on. But Death House was just like a modern disaster. Like, it's just not even well put together.
Yeah, and how did I know right away? And everybody else fell for, not everybody else, but enough people fell for it. As soon as I saw the Expendables of horror and all these people are in it, and they had so many of them, I said, this is a gimmick. This is just to suck you in, because they know they're going to suck you in with that stuff. But how do I have the foresight to see that and say, no, I'm not falling for that? And how come by now all other horror fans who've been in the game watching movies as long as I have haven't put together that this is what's going on? I'm not the smartest guy in the world by any means. I'm a dumbass in some respects. I admit it.
It's because
how do I know?
You keyed into that. Everybody else is holding on. It's funny, you've been able to separate that bit of nostalgia. Everybody else is holding on, saying, okay, these are all those horror icons we grew up with, the actors that portrayed them. This is going to be great. Yeah, but there's no talent behind the camera. You know, the script is fucking abysmal, whatever it may be. And they can't see they're there, they're making some money. They think, they're appeasing to the horror fan, but it's kind of insulting in a way as well. No differently than, in my opinion, charging for autographs and photo ops. I know that's become the norm now, but I've told you back in the day that, like, it's not anything I've experienced when and I'm not talking about Clive Barker at a book signing. I'm talking about even going to that one Fangoria Weekend of Horrors, the one that was hosted in Canada. And you just walk around and you just chatted with them and they would sign something. And I think like we said, it got out of hand and they had to kind of get some structure to it. Otherwise, these people are going to get bombarded as the festivals grew and grew and grew. So I get it. but it just is like, then keep everything consistent. A picture is this, an autograph is that, done. Everybody's got their own rights, and it's like I don't know. I'm not for it, but I'm probably
Well,
in the huge minority on that as well.
well, I'm not paying the prices they asked for now. If I would have done it, it would have been in the past, and I went to one. But now the prices that they're asking for, and again,
Sorry,
they're
man.
asking for it because people are giving it. It's no.
Yeah,
I
very
hate
true.
to talk about economics again, but it's real simple. It's just if you have to take a stand and say no, damn it, I'm not going to pay that much money. And then if everybody takes a stand, then they'll have to lower their prices. It's like anything, but people, and it's going to sound mean, but they're marks. They just don't care. They're consumers. They just, when they want something, and I want lots of shit, man. I'm a person that I get excited when I get an idea's coming, and I'm like, oh my God, I've been an impulse buyer in the past. I want that, but now with prices being what they are, hell no. Even if something simple as food, I'm not going to go out and spend. If I go to get like fast food, I'm sorry. I'm not spending $45 on a family of 3. I'm not doing it. I can go to this other place here and spend $23 and I'll be fine. There's a new place just opened up here, and I know what it is, but I used to have in the Vegas. It's called Jersey Mike's. Jersey Mike's
I
subs.
don't.
They wanted $20 almost for a large sub. $20. There is no way in hell. No, there's a great pizza place
Which
out
is a
here.
hoagie.
And you know what? I'll give them $15 because I know they load up their sub. It's not a chintzy thing. It isn't like a $5 Subway sub. It's a full sub with everything loaded. Okay. I'll give those guys that money for something like that because that might even last 2 days. So, but I went to the Jersey Mike's because I was excited because it came. I used to get this one. It was like a buffalo chicken and cheese sandwich when I used to get it in sub in Vegas when they were there. And I was like, oh, we got a Jersey Mike's here. Fine, let's go check it out. And I went in there and I saw those prices. I walked right out. Nope, not doing it. But the
Yep.
problem is, who the hell? Who am I? I'm just one guy. But everybody else, they're giving everybody this money. And I could tell you, I know what I bring home, and I can guess what a lot of people bring home, especially at their ages, to a degree. If I can barely afford it, I don't know how they can afford it, or why there's such marks about it. I'll never be able. But that's just economics,
It's what
and I've
people
given up trying to figure it out.
prioritize different things, right? Like there are people that
I guess so.
really, I mean, again, who are we to say what they should
True.
and shouldn't be buying? It's their money; they could do whatever the
No,
fuck
we
they want.
can't.
We can't. I get
I
it,
know.
but when you see a collection, like if someone's complaining about not having money, and you see a fucking collection of horror, physical media and like masks and whatever behind, like I'm not coming down here. I'm just saying that you got to say like, hey, well then prioritize your shit, whatever it may be.
Right.
I've done it. I'm like, you know what? I probably spent way too much money on movies and whatever.
It's
And
happening.
I probably could have like I could say for the most part, yeah, it should be a non-issue. I could afford it, but you got to prioritize yourself because you can go crazy. There's other shit that needs to be taken care of. Whether again, I said we've got kids going through school, whatever it may be, whatever it may be in their lives too. But sometimes people complain, oh, I got nothing, 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 and you're like, well, then stop, sell some shit or whatever. I don't know what to say. I never know how to answer
And
those
people
things.
are. You notice that nowadays. You see
Yeah.
that a lot. You see a lot of people selling off their collection. And I've been saying this for years. I go, believe me, you're all gung-ho about your collection now. Most people, as time goes on, start to sell it off. And if they move a couple times, then they don't want to lug it and everything else. And then they get
I
into
speak
like,
from experience
well,
on that. Yeah. And I
and
wasn't
I've
even a
lost
money
the
thing.
game.
It was, yeah. Well, that was it. And then, but then you'll be, it's again, is it worth it for X amount? You've got to figure out what the trade-off is. I'm going to end up with this
Right.
for getting rid of that. And then if you love it, if it's like, I mean, at the end of the day, there's something to be said about being able just to pick up and leave and not worrying about all this physical baggage that we've got attached
Yeah.
to it as well. There's something about that freedom too. But
it just happens. But a lot of people, they're really, really collecting. And then I see sometimes it happens to get a little older, and I all I can do is see what happens with them. And a lot of times they start collecting less and less. You'll see people selling things off and everything
Well,
else. And hey, but again, like I lost out because I sold I threw out my Fangorias eventually from back in the day, and then
same.
I had to buy them back because I wanted them. So
Yeah.
in that case, I was wrong. There's other instances where I threw stuff out and I never should have. You know what I mean? And it's
Well,
like, damn it! All the wrestling figures I used to have, I don't know where they are now. I had to rebuy some. Some of them I have. They were at my brother's or my mother's, but I had a whole bunch. I had some other things, and I should have held
well,
on to some of these things, but I didn't.
admittedly,
He-Man
if I didn't
figures,
come on this show, I'll be totally honest. If I never started Exploding Heads or started recording Exploding Heads with you and Brandon way back when, I wouldn't have gotten back into physical. If you remember, I was done. I was back to
you were
digital.
out of it,
I was going digital
right?
or whatever it may be, and I was building up that catalog. And the reality is that talking and getting into it, I started getting that itch again because I used to be bad with that, whether it be
Yeah,
whatever it may be. So then I just started clicking them, and I'm not like bitter about it. I love them, but I started again. I could see it was starting to get out of hand. And like just recently, I've been like I got that Exorcist one that we're both waiting for. I think still, uh,
yeah, yeah.
and that should be hopefully coming soon because it's I guess
But
it's
that's a
because it's a
special
special
thing.
edition. But that was it. But so was that Hellraiser 4K, that Psycho 4K set, that Blood and Black lace. So there's always something special coming out, and it just seems like there's a bunch of them now. And then you'll see that there's a bunch ready to be released coming down. And like I said, I've already just sort of kiboshed. I said you have to just stop it at some point because it will never end. They'll just re-release everything in 4K with a jacked up price and go for that. I want more things to release in 4K because then hopefully the Blu-rays will come down to what DVD prices are, which are like amazingly cheap, whether you get them used
Yeah.
and some new, not all. But once they
Hmm.
release their 4K counterparts or whatever it may be, I'm hoping that those ones come down. And we know the Scream Factories will never come down, and I'm okay with that. But I'm just talking about like just in general, because remember when Blu-ray came down, you could get DVDs for next to nothing.
Right. I
Next
know.
to nothing.
Well,
Even when DVD was hot, they were selling some DVDs for next to nothing.
yeah, you're right. The 4K thing though, it's like I want. Okay, did you get the Hellraiser 4K? Is it out yet? The
Oh,
box?
it's out. It's out. It's not. I don't know if it's. I believe it's not even pre-order now. I think you can order it and get it delivered. I did not bite.
1, 2, 3, and 4.
I
That
know. I
one?
want them. Yeah, that one. I did
That's
not
the
bite because
one.
I've got 1 and 2 on Blu-ray, Steelbook
Yeah,
Arrow
sure. I
Blu-ray,
got the
and the other
arrows.
one,
Yeah, good ones.
and 2 is not Steelbook, but it's regular. And I'm like, and those were the 2K restorations. And I always said, I argued, is this going to look good in 4K? Because those 2K
Too gay.
transfers were very grainy. And it's, I think, the film source. So unless they're able to clean that film source up, I'm really kind of wondering what they're going to look like. And it's not inexpensive. And yes, I would like 3 because I do like 3. It's all right. And I really like 4 based on what we reviewed. And I'd love to see that work print. But am I going to spend all that
Right.
extra money just to get 4 with a work print in 3? Now I understand they're all in 4K, so that's one one other benefit to it because the difference between the Blu-ray version and the 4K version is not a significant amount of money. And if you get the Blu-ray version, it's only region B, I believe, whereas the 4K, of course, is region free. So there's some pros and cons, but when you weigh them, I'm like, do I really need? I've already got 1 and 2 in a decent release. Are they going to look better? I don't know. I admittedly I haven't looked for any reviews to see what they actually look like and what people are talking about the picture quality.
Oh, I'm gonna.
So that would be of interest. But I was always wondering because you had Arrow already releasing them with that 2K
Hmm.
restoration, and I'm again the movies are very grainy,
Well,
very grainy. Is that
yeah, that
4K just going to enhance it even more so?
man. Let me
So I
see that. I'm
wanted it.
gonna
I
look this
wanted it.
up.
I've had that in like my basket for the longest time, and I was about to pull the trigger a bunch of times. And then the 4K, the Psycho 4K set. The reason I like that, I've already got Psycho in 4K, but I don't have the Arrow
Uh-huh.
version of it. I've got just the regular version. But I wanted two, three, and to a lesser extent four. I like four, but it's not anything I need in 4K. But it comes in the set,
Right.
so I
What do
figured
they
why
call it?
not?
Oh, there it is. Quartet of Torment, October 23. They're not out yet.
Okay. So I don't think there will be any reviews unless someone got a pre-release
No.
to talk about it. But they're not
How
sold
much are
out yet
they?
either. Well, it's because it's in euro, or is it in pound? Pound. It's in pound. I think it was going to end up being like 100 something, $100.
Oh, F that. I'm not doing that.
Well, that was Canadian, so
I would just
you're going to be probably $70 American plus
right.
shipping.
So see, the thing is, if I could just get one and two, but I do want that work print thing too.
Yeah,
So
I know.
see, I'll get it just in time. I'm not doing it now. Like I wait.
Well,
Like I
I've
waited
got
for
one and
the
two. Like I said, there's no new
not on
extras.
4K.
None of all, no, that it's
That's what I'm
Blu-ray,
saying.
the
Right.
2K restoration. But
Right.
I'm telling you, I've watched them. They're not that, the transfers, the movies look decent, and the colors pop. But with that, you get a lot of grain.
Yeah,
It
but that's
also has
one
that.
company.
It's the same company.
Who
It's bringing it
knows?
out.
It's
It's
all
Arrow.
Arrow?
Yeah,
Okay.
this was
Well,
the
who
Arrow
knows? Yeah.
Blu-rays,
Then
and
I'm gonna wait.
so well, I'm just gonna wait to find out what people are saying about them.
Yes. And that's what I'll do. And that's what I mean, I waited on the Dawn of the Dead set, the 4K set. I waited for it. I didn't get the big thing right away that you got. And I understand why you got it. That's why I'm getting The Exorcist, because it's a top 3 movie for me.
Yeah,
Movies like that, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna get something for The Shining, for The Exorcist. There's a few movies I would do it for. Probably a good anything on my top 20. It's grounds for maybe doing something like that. You know what I mean? But not everything. But that's what makes them special. That's what's good about collecting. Collecting everything doesn't make anything special. It's like everything. It's overabundance. It's like if you have steak every day, all of a sudden
yeah.
it's not steak
Well,
anymore.
if you have every movie in
It's
your,
not
if you have
special. It's
every movie in your catalog,
right.
other than bragging rights of having every movie in your catalog, that comes with like, I mean, I can't even choose what I want to. And you've said it,
Oh,
and
I
I've told
know.
you this in the past before. It's sitting physically right there. I can see it. But that means I got to go there, make sure the proper player's hooked up because I used to have everything hooked up. But then my son wanted to take the PlayStation up there, so I've got my Xbox which plays 4K. I've got my region free or all region Blu-ray player there as well. But you've got to
Mm-hmm.
make sure then. Okay, that's region B. I got to put that in there. That's 4K. I've got to put it there. When you could go and then just click on your catalog or go to whatever it may be and just watch it at a
Well,
couple
yeah.
clicks of a button. Uh, Once again, I will say physical media for the most part, if you've got a good player in the TV and everything like that, will play better and should play better. But
Sure.
some of these digital
Definitely does.
versions of them are just fine in a pinch.
Some are great.
I wanted them for the special features as well. And the special features are great once or twice. And then you pretty much never go back to them again.
Well, I'm saving them. I never get to watch them. I always want to, but every time I watch something for the show, I do it all on Saturdays, and it takes me up until bedtime. I watch them Saturday nights, and I'm like, a lot of times I want to watch after I finish the movie. I'm like, man, I want to watch an hour of freaking all these special features, but it's late already. I can't do it, and I don't. But I do believe there's going to be a time in my life, maybe if I'm lucky enough to retire or be home or whatever, where I'm just going to go on a run because I go on these runs. I go on, but I'm going to do it, and I'm just going to just watch all the special features from all my discs and check shit out. I think that'll be fun to do. But I go on runs. I'll do a found
Yeah.
footage thing for a while. I'll do a freaking, now I'm doing slashers, of course, for obvious reasons.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it's like, then I'll do a couple new movies, and then I'll do a lot of documentaries, and then I do shows with the family, so that's always there. But I tend to get in these moods where I just
So do I do.
do a lot of yeah.
So do
So
I do.
I think maybe I'll hit that point. I know
don't
what you
know
meant.
Yeah. I can't
I'll
talk.
hit that point.
Well, I'm like
I
you.
know.
I mean, you went through that dark phase. It inspired me, and I did that same sort of thing. And if I look at my watch list from early in the year, it was just documentary after documentary after documentary after documentary. And
Hmm.
what has taken a hit for me is 2023 watches. I've got a stack of them waiting to watch
They're not
that
worth
I
it.
that I have not gotten to. But I mean, again, I've got all of October, November, and December. We don't really have to record our show until the new year if we really wanted to. It might even be in our best interest. And we know that there are more coming in the theater. But
I mean, 2023.
it's late.
I still don't have one. Oh, okay. Hold on. No, talk to me, Cobweb Demeter. Okay, so there's other couple I want to watch. I saved one that was the new one on Hulu that I liked. I forgot what it was, and there might be
Ooh.
another one. But I still haven't watched Renfield, and I'm going to because everybody says you should still watch because it's got a lot of praise. I'm considering The Pope's Exorcist, and
You, I liked Renfield. I just don't know. I think you'll like
yeah,
everything that I liked about it, but you'll hate
the
some of the
comedy.
the action esque elements of it. But it'll be interesting to see
Uh,
because sometimes
right.
sometimes I think this and then you end up loving it. So then
You
I
never
don't know,
know. Yeah,
but I just don't know your take on that one just based on typically what you like
The
from.
Blackening.
Yeah, that I watched.
Which, by the way,
I
you
actually didn't
consider
mind
it a
that.
slasher, huh? I had no idea
Well,
it was slashery. It's a slasher, you're telling me?
it's set up as such. It kind
Okay,
of it's definitely
so
set
it
up
could
as
count.
such. Yeah,
Okay,
and actually the payoff is I guess of such. It's just not when all said and done. There's I think very few kills overall,
okay,
but I mean it's still set up and presented as such. It's just more you don't get that final person par se.
right. Eh, what do I still have? Probably the same amount, 29 movies or something. I still and honestly, it's fine. It's just fine. But this year's, but the thing, I've been saying this all along. We just had freaking 8 great years, man. You know what I mean? It doesn't, it doesn't
Well,
last
everything comes
forever.
to an end. Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
okay. I'm okay with a couple good movies coming out a year now and everything else, and as long as it doesn't take a complete dive. But it's like, I mean, it's like people have been spoiled. They're surprised. I mean, okay, it did come kind of quick, but honestly, the last two, 2020, 2021, 20, ever since the 2020s, it hasn't quite been the same for me as the teens. It's gotten a little worse each year, but this year really, for the most part, has been a letdown. But I'm not personally let down by it because we had that nice run, just like in the 80s. It doesn't last forever, but the cool thing about it is this: in the 80s, it started off hot, gangbusters. You know what I mean? Huge,
Yeah.
1980, boom, and then it tailed off at the end. This time it kind of started. We saw the momentum coming. We saw it in 2010, 11, 12, 13, and then like 14 and onward, it just kept really getting really good every year. Like from like 15 and on, it was just like nuts. 15 to 19, so great. So then it got real hot. It was excellent, and now it tailed off. We still get a little, but it's like everything's fringe now. There's a lot of comedy now. This 2023's got a ton of comedy, a ton of fringe stuff. Or I'm sick of asking the question: Is this horror? Is this horror? Every time I talk to somebody, you consider it a horror movie? I'm tired of asking that question. Seriously,
Well,
why? Why has it got to be so hard? But anyway, ultimately, what I'm saying is I'm not let down because we just had a great run. It doesn't last forever. We just happen to be in an
but
era now where everybody's reviewing, so they're talking about it more because of social media and
well,
YouTube and
this is
everything
it,
else.
and having the output. This is exactly what I was going to add on to what you're saying. The reason the teens could be considered better than the 80s is that we've lived it in real time and been able to chat amongst our horror community and not just
Yeah,
our core group, but the horror community
all of
at
them.
large, and you're getting
Yeah,
all this input. Whereas at the time in the 80s, you weren't getting that. You're reading Fangoria, reading 5 letters to the editor or whatever, or whatever it may be, getting so and so's take in Arkansas on the movie, and maybe a buddy of yours or two buddies. That's
Yeah,
what you were getting at
sure.
the time. If you remember, and then Siskel and Ebert shitting on the genre for the most part, not all of them,
Right.
but definitely slashers. And there are horror fans, you can even read them in the letters to Fangoria, that thought the state of horror in the 80s was bad because it was just a glut of slashers. So slashers were not looked upon with
Right.
praise at that time frame, and still some horror fans don't look upon them with praise now. I'm saying
Well,
that
because
in
they're teen
retrospect,
horror. It went from
exactly. It was
adult horror in the 70s to teen.
yeah,
But here's the
teen
thing.
uppers, and then
I'll
and
finish.
whatever for a
I'll let
quick
you
buck.
finish.
Oh, yeah, no, no, no. I interject because I'm just saying that's why. And then I think as we look back upon it, we've got that fun because we lived it, we were there. But again,
Yeah.
I remember being petrified of them, and only becoming a fan in the latter part of the 80s. Like I said, 70, 87, 88 is where it began. 87 is where it began, but I was still scared. It was like trying to conquer that fear by watching. And in 88 is when it really took hold and I became a fan. And then you're just trying to
Right.
absorb and consume. But again, other than my two buddies here and there, I didn't know. Like, you're just saying, I think this movie's great, and your buddy may agree or may not agree. And that was really the extent of it. And we would put them on, and then we'd have a group of friends come over, and then other people would interject. But that was really the extent of it. Now you're hearing every Tom, Dick,
Yeah.
and Harry, like everybody's fucking opinion of it, good, bad, ugly, all at once with every release that comes out. And there's a shit ton more releases that come out. So
Right. Yeah. It's
that's what you're competing. That's what the difference is. It's like, historical, and then when you look back at the teens, it's going to be probably looked upon as being a solid decade of horror, as we've already said.
yeah.
And then we're going to see that this time frame, like we were saying, like the 90s, it's going to be kind of like the early 90s. Maybe they just tapered off, but then maybe what we'll get is maybe a faster recycle that 2024 maybe we'll return to start the trend of better horror again.
Maybe so. A lot of things are being politicized now, and then we have to worry about the I don't worry. And I'll keep my thoughts to myself because it might offend, but
With
it's like I
the
don't
woke
worry about
nature of
the
affecting.
writer's strike. No, I'm just saying
Oh yes,
politicizes. I already covered
yeah,
it there,
yeah.
but everything going on with these strikes and stuff, um, I'm not worried about it because frankly, I don't know everything about it, so I don't know who it affects. If it's affecting good working people
Affects
and everything
everybody.
else, and
My
it
buddy,
affects, that's the problem.
my buddy
Right.
Richard, you just texted, and we kind of haven't see this is a guy I did this show with, the comedy sketch show, and we've kind of not
Mhm.
lost contact, but we've lives got in the way and whatever. And he reached out to me last week, and he's like, "Hey, how's it going?" I'm like, "Good. How about you?" And he's like, feeling a little bit of a pinch with the writer's strike, because
So
he's
he's a writer.
no, 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 but no writing, no production. Everybody, you can't be working or you're a scab. That's where this is coming from. And so everything stops. So he's like an electric. Like not he's not a gaffer, but he's I think a head of like electric on works with the gaffer or whatever, or he's a gaffer and works with the DOP, whatever it may be. But he's saying like, yeah, he's not been working. He hasn't been working since spring. So it affects
Well,
everybody.
well, see, that's the sad part. I don't want it to affect everybody. As far as the writers are concerned, I don't. I think the writers have been shit for the past freaking 10 years, except out of some indie horror. But all the stuff you've heard me complain about it before. Go look at the theater. Everything is a regurgitation or a remake of something else. There's no original ideas. There's very few great things that have come out that weren't spun off of an already existing product. Nothing original has been great. When I hear writers were striking, just writers, I was happy. I was like, good. Fuck the fucking shit that they've been cranking out in Hollywood. It's garbage. Let them strike forever and let some freaking let me write something and have it go out there and let's see if someone makes it. Problem is, it affects everybody, like you said. So I get it.
Yeah. And
And
it's not just Hollywood. When we think of it, we always think of just Hollywood, but there's a lot of people that are in the guild that I think, although part of that guild, they might be just like making independent movies or whatever, not no budget movies that we could do and we're welcome to do right now because it doesn't have anything to do with unions or whatever. So, but So they're all affected. So it's affecting everybody with like Andrew, that we're friends with, Hoekstra. Is that his name? He's
Okay.
probably feeling the pain right now too.
Well, see, that's awful. I don't want to see anybody
I'm
in a
I'm
crunch.
guessing. I'm guessing because
Yeah.
I know he's been working in that industry as well. So
And that's but here's the thing. I belong to a union. And I'm glad I do. And they take their dues and everything else. And because of them existing, it's great. However, I don't get upset about the scab thing because number one, I haven't had to strike or anything, so it hasn't affected me that way. But what I'm saying is it's almost like the union. It's like you're strong armed to absolutely join the union when you get into this profession. Correct? You have got to be a member of SAG to be in these movies. You have no choice. I bet if some people had a choice, they would say, no, I'm not going to be in the union. I'm not going to pay you guys the money. I'm just going to go and be a working actor. But because everybody's strong armed into it, you have to
there,
reap the benefits of being in a union, which there are great benefits, but you also have to accept the freaking negativity that comes with it. It's like anything. And it
well,
sucks.
I assume so. I'm
But
not well enough versed to speak out on it
me
because I know
neither.
there's non-union productions, but again, I think that's few and far between, and ultimately, yes, I think you're correct in in what you're in your statement, but I'm not well versed enough to like I've
well,
not worked in it. I just remember being in, even when I was trying to be an extra, there were ones that if you got a speaking line, they had to ask if you were SAG or not. But if you got a speaking
okay.
line and you weren't, then you could get you that would be your way in. And again, I'm going by 21 years ago, 23 years ago, actually,
Mm-hmm.
now, of when I was like, anticipating or thinking maybe that would be a route that I try to push in. I realize I'm not much of an actor.
But but the thing
So
is
fuck it.
this. I had to join the union when I got my job. There's no question of it. It's not like do you want to join the union? It's like you have to join the union. You have to. Now I'm glad I did.
Yeah.
So don't get what I'm saying wrong, but I'm just looking at it from the perspective of would you just go in and say, "Hey, I want to work and not join the union. Am I allowed to be on set? Like, is every single actor and everybody on the set in the union? If so, it almost seems like it's like
Well,
the mafia or something.
they're
It's
in
like
their own
you,
union. I think everybody has their own. There's the Directors Guild, there's the Writers Guild, there's SAG,
okay,
Screen Actors Guild.
okay.
So I think it's all, you know, interconnected in a sense, but I believe they're separate organizations. And weigh in, people. I mean, I don't believe
Yeah, I
Dave
don't know.
Parker's
I
not in the
just
union, right? He's not in SAG, correct? He just has worked on independent films. I know Carly's just independent films,
probably
but if you guys want to
right.
weigh in. I mean, it's interesting to. I find it very interesting, but I believe that's the difference. Like independent, non-independent films, like with Lauren Ashton Carter was in. Is that her name? I always fuck it up. Anyway, when she was on with us, she was talking about it, and she's most definitely SAG. But I think what she was saying, she could work on these other films, and they were, set the flat rate at like whatever it was, 125 a day or whatever it may be, and that's what they were trying to fight against for these non-union productions, is even getting those numbers up for actors and whatnot. But I think everything
And I
should just be
understand
based on
it.
budget. If the budget is this, this is what gets allocated towards production costs, and this is what gets allocated towards salaries and whatnot. And this is the way it has to be. Maybe that's how it is. Again, I don't know because I haven't like.
But you should be able to choose when you get involved in making movies. Just way it's a gamble. It's like, okay, you're gonna if you jump in the union, this and this is gonna benefit you. However, if there's a strike or if this happens, you're gonna have to deal with those consequences. Or it's almost like investing in something like a 401k and how you're gonna play your stock market. Or you can, instead of being a bear, you can come in and freaking say, okay, or a bull, whatever they want. You can not join the union and you could take gig to gig and keep doing your thing. You could, I don't know how they get paid, contracts, whatever, but you can not be a non-union worker. In this way, you don't have to worry about what's going to happen and all that union business. But I have a feeling that you're forced to be in the union. And I think that
And you
therein
might be
lies a
right.
bit of a problem.
You might
The
be right.
union may be just as bad as the corporations in certain respects.
Yeah, you might not
I'm
be
just saying.
forced into it, but your work would be very limited if you didn't join that, because there wouldn't be enough non-union gigs to sustain, or you wouldn't necessarily be the one that gets all those gigs. Whereas, like, if you're in the union, then maybe the amount of opportunity opens up significantly more so. And again, I'm speaking kind of out of line because I really don't know. I'm just
We all are.
almost
We're
guessing.
just speculating.
Yeah.
And someone could come and say something, they could respond, and I could say, you know what? I take it all back. Very easily. If somebody informs me on something, I'll say, okay, I was just speculating. I was just questioning. I don't know. But now I understand, and then I am in full support of the strike. Again, I don't even know what they're striking about. Probably money. I mean, what else would it be?
It usually, I
or,
believe it is also just about the way that media is being distributed nowadays and not being compensated accordingly. So essentially, the top always wins, as they always do, and it's not necessarily trickling down. No differently than I think in, like, for streaming. You know, I've heard Snoop Dogg talk about this. I think we maybe brought it up on the show. He's like, I don't even know how streaming works. You know, my song's been downloaded 1 billion times. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but let's say 1 billion times. He goes, I didn't see any money from it. Like, how does streaming work? How do the artists get paid from all of that? Like, and so if your movie is on Netflix and it gets watched 1 billion times around the world or whatever, how do you get compensated for that? Since you were the writer, since you were on that production, like, I know that there's something that was done, but I think that's what it was, because this has become the predominant way of distribution. It's kind of, how does it evolve? What comes next? And I, again, could be wrong, but I'm almost positive that's a portion of what this is about. It's definitely for compensation, no question. But I'm just not sure of all the ins and outs of what exactly they're looking for.
Well, the artist has to agree. You can't just be on a platform if the artist doesn't agree. So there's something. Not every artist is on iTunes, and not every artist is on Spotify. There's reasons for that, obviously. So what that is, I don't know. All I know is they had to do something because people were downloading things and streaming them illegally anyway. So they had to find a way to legalize it and get people paid. You get a company paid, like an Apple iTunes and like a Spotify.
But it's the record labels that are getting paid. He's saying I sold 10 million records. That's physical. You're saying I sold 10 million records. That's what I get. I get a 1 billion downloads. He goes, that sounds like a lot, right? Where's my money? And we
discussed it before. Isn't it like 2 cents a download for a song or something like that, or this, whatever the hell it is? They must be getting residual checks. Somebody has to be getting paid. There's a reason people are making deals with iTunes. There's a reason. You know what I'm saying? There's something to it. We don't know, but maybe Snoop doesn't know because maybe someone else handles his freaking business, which I don't know. I'd probably want to know if I was an artist, where everything was coming from and how often it's going to come in and is it going to stop? You know what I mean? So it's like, I'd want to know, but you have to assume they're getting paid something. I don't know. Okay, look at it now.
That might have been an old interview as well, but it's not the first nor the last time we're probably going to hear that argument.
What about new artists? What about artists that didn't come along until the world was just streaming and not buying physical CDs and everything else? What about those artists? Like, who's been a big artist just like the past 8 years or something? That's what you'd have to look at. Someone that's only been in the music scene making money since streaming became the number one way to consume music, and then see what their net worth is.
Well, wouldn't Lady Gaga, wouldn't Adele all be part of that? I mean, they all came out.
Well, they're so huge.
Yeah.
They tour. They make money on tour anyway. And Lady Gaga's made movies now and everything. They do commercials. So you can't really take like the top of the freaking echelon. You got to have like artists that, like, let's think about like when we were kids. Like, who's a big band? I'm not going to say it's 1988. I'm not going to say Michael Jackson.
Guns N' Roses.
I'm not going to say even Metallica. Well, Guns N' Roses had a huge debut album. I'm trying to think of like a group like that was always kind of there. You know what I mean? I don't know, Dead Kennedys. There you go. Dead Kennedys. They're a known band. People were into them. I mean, yes, a certain genre of fans, but still, they're a known band that you could walk around in a high school and someone's wearing like a Dead Kennedy shirt. I don't know why I picked them. I was just picturing a group that was just known, but not huge. You know what I mean? Not putting out
Oh,
videos and
okay.
all
Well,
this stuff,
Aerosmith is
everything.
different because they were huge, but then they kind
Yeah,
of
they were already,
dipped down
then
and
they
then they
got
came
huge
back.
again.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
I'm just picturing like a normal band that was known, but not like they're not a pop culture freaking. They're not everybody knows them. They're not going to come and play a
The
stadium show.
Ramones.
How's that? Okay, the Ramones, same type of thing. Okay,
Yeah.
there you go. What were they being paid in the freaking? You know what I mean? So who compares to the Ramones or the Dead Kennedys now?
Well, it's a
Think of a band.
very interesting question because I even in that regard, I don't think the Ramones were well paid at all. Even Motorhead, like these are bands we all know, and I don't
There
even
you
think
go,
they were
Motorhead.
paid well at all. I think Lenny was like I thought there was like something saying that he lived pretty much in practically in poverty.
Well, they toured.
I could
They
be
all make money
exaggerated a
when
bit.
they tour.
Yeah.
Yeah, they all made money on tours. That's how bands make money. You know, that's the major thing. That's why a touring band
Back in the day,
gets
no,
paid.
sorry. Back in the day, not so much. Now you're right. Now I think that's where you're absolutely correct. That's where Adele,
Always.
Taylor Swift,
Odell
all of
Beckham.
them are going crazy now because they're these. I mean, Taylor Swift. Think of what just they're. We were talking about in the show. Her concert's going to be aired in a theater because the concerts have sold out now. So she's
Yeah,
going to be
that's a
making,
good
she's
idea.
already made money hand over fist. She's going to make even more for the distribution of it in simultaneously in theaters.
Yeah, but it's cheap to go. How much does it cost?
I
It's
don't
a
know
movie theater price,
that
correct?
I'm assuming it's a movie theater,
Okay,
but
either way,
I'm
Fish,
again don't know. Yeah,
you can watch every live Fish concert at home. You got to pay for it though. So, and it's more than it costs for a movie theater. It's like $20 or something, maybe more,
well, that's
to
usually
watch
what
it
they
in
do.
high def.
They usually are trying to
Right.
compensate for at least two people going to the movie when they're doing it. They were doing that when like some simultaneous releases, and it was always like 19.99 or 24.99 to watch it at home, or you go to
Uh-huh.
the theater to see it. You go to the theater to see it, that's probably 2 tickets.
Right. Yeah. See, now I have to find out. I want to know. It's been so long since I've done it, but like a regular Fish show, any show they play, you can watch it live on the damn thing. You know what I'm saying? So, out of curiosity, I'm gonna go over here and just see what it costs to buy. Oh, see, there's no new concerts coming, so it's hard to do. Damn it! I wish I knew. See, these are older shows. Okay, buy. Let's just see if I can get Commerce City, which was a few weeks ago. Let's see. Purchase now. Let's see what it's. Okay, buy MP3 $10. I don't have to because I belong to Live Fish. So for $10 a month, I have everything. But anyway, okay, buy the FLAC HDEF HD is $20. So let's just meet it, and let's just say it's $20, but I'm pretty sure it's more to buy a live show. So let's just say it's $20 or $30 to buy a Fish show, and they put every fucking show out there that you could buy. So literally, think about that. They're doing it every show. Taylor Swift's only doing it for one concert, you're telling me.
Well,
And I'm
I'm
surprised.
I'm only telling you. I'm not saying one concert. I think it's every show might have a theatrical option to it. We talked about this on one show, and I'm not even.
No.
Again, I'm not. It's not like I've
Let me.
researched the ins and outs of it. I've literally read an article or saw something saying it was going to be. It was advertised as being on sale, and you could buy tickets for it. And that's the extent I know of what's happening to the Taylor Swift thing.
So it's a live concert. So it's like a Fathom event that's taking place on that day. Because why would
Yeah.
Exorcist or Saw move their date around it? If she was going to do it all summer long or all whatever winter long or whatever you want to call it, all tour long, then she'd have a concert every day. Then who cares about moving it from that day? It's always going to be there. So
Well,
I'm
like I
guessing it's
said,
like a Fathom event.
we could
I don't
research
know.
this, but we're not.
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, yeah, I don't get it, and I'm not sure where to look on it. You know what I mean? Exactly. I could just type in Taylor Swift movie and see what happens, but it's like I don't know. That's so fucking weird. I don't know. Well, here's what I want to know. This is what I want to know.
It's the whole tour will be shown, the Eras tour, whatever the fuck it's called. Uh, that's what I know. Cineplex theaters. The concert film will be featured in more than 150 Cineplex theaters starting October 13th. The film will show 4 times a week, Thursday through Sunday. Tickets start at $19.89 for adults and $13.13 for children aged 13 and below and seniors. So
so
it's going to be every show. Again, this is not telling me they're live, but I'm assuming is her concert running Thursday through Sunday, and if so, then I guess it's a live feed. I don't know. The film will show 4 times a week, so maybe not. Maybe it's the same thing being shown over and over. But that seems weird to me that it would be recorded and just replayed over and over in theaters.
like
It
any other
must,
movie. I don't know. It's just the
yeah. I would assume that
performs.
the draw there would be that it's live. And AMC is going to be doing the same thing. But it's saying it will play the
I gotta
film.
look into it. And it says 2 hours 45 minutes, and it says there's a budget of 10 to 20 million, and it says the cultural phenomenon continues as pop icon Taylor Swift performs hit singles in a once in a lifetime concert experience. So I don't know what that means. I can't imagine that she's gonna go on a long tour. Actually, that's a real easy way to look up. Let's look up Taylor Swift's tour and see if she's touring fucking all of October and all of November. You know, that's your answer right there. Is she playing all these nights? Let's see. The Taylor Swift tour. Let's see. How many shows are there? U.S. dates. Friday, Miami.
No, it says, maybe this answers it. Despite placing her previous documentaries and concert films on streaming services in the past, the iconic pop star opted to deliver the Eras Tour film directly to cinema goers this October. The filmed concert is already breaking records for movie theaters and is expected to top 100 million during its opening weekend. So it's filmed. It's filmed and edited.
See?
That is
right.
Weird to me.
Weird. Yeah,
well, no different.
She's only touring.
Dice didn't do his. Well, that would have been like a record-breaking or like I guess a totally different experience back in '91. But when he did Dice Rules, it was in no differently than Eddie Murphy. They filmed their concert movies and then they presented them. So the difference here is that the concert is still sort of happening as it's going to be put in the theaters. So people that couldn't buy a ticket can experience on the big screen as if they're there live. But I honestly thought it was simultaneously being broadcast. That's how I interpreted it initially.
Right.
This is a concert film. It's essentially, Eddie Murphy Raw, Dice Rules, being shown to you.
It's not a lot. It's not a live show. It's not like watching a Fish live. So think about how much money Fish will make every fucking show selling those things, plus the concert tickets. It's crazy. That's all, but that's fine. But Taylor Swift's only doing 9 shows, 9 concerts from October 18th to November 3rd. She's only doing 9. It's a 9-tour stop, a 9-stop tour. Pardon me.
You figure it's a 9-tour stop. You'd figure that the technology has gotten there where you can simultaneously broadcast. Weren't they?
Yeah, Fish does it. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Why can't
you could do it to a home?
You
could do it to a home. You figure a theater should be just as well equipped. You're just
they've done it.
I don't understand
Fathom
it.
Events.
Yeah,
Fathom Events have done it. I went to see Fish's last. Well, it was okay. There was this thing called Fish Live. All right, but there was another one when they played Coventry when they were breaking up because they broke up for like 5 years, and when they were breaking up, their last concert was a 3-day thing it was at Coventry. Okay, and my friend and I went to see live the very last Fish show at Coventry in the theater. It was a live stream all around the country, so they could do it there. So certainly Taylor Swift could do it.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I
don't get it though.
Yeah, I almost want I don't even know why we've gone on so long about it. It's interesting to me, but I don't get it either. Like, why, if she's going to be in Toronto, you can't go to that concert. Why not present that one since it's already on Jumbotron to all the surrounding theaters? and
Because all
you're
of her
going to make a
concerts are the same.
You think
Like
maybe
every other fucking artist
they assume
that isn't
everybody's there
Fish.
at the concert, but people, there are people that couldn't make it. The tickets were too expensive, or they sold out, and they want to see this concert. But I guess that thought process is it's too busy. It's too crazy. Like, I don't want to go and see Traffic. If I could go take my kids, if they wanted to see it and they were younger and they cared and we couldn't go, of course, to go would have been, let's get them live tickets. Oh, we can't. You want to go see it in the theater. But I
Right.
guess it's not coming to Canada until next year. So the actual concert. So the fact that this movie's coming out now is interesting.
Yeah, well,
They'll double that.
well,
That's
think
what,
about it.
because this concert, I'm almost positive the Eras Tour concert's not coming out into Toronto till next spring or summer, 2024, I believe. So you get the
Why
movie
not?
out now,
Yeah.
and it makes a ton of money because all her fans want to see the movie and get them anticipated and excited about seeing her live. Fucking marketing genius. But why the fuck are we talking
Well,
about this? Hellraiser should
well,
be
hold
getting
on.
this.
But we will, yeah, it's true. But think about this. They used to have closed circuit things. When WrestleMania 1 came out, people could go to arenas to watch it live as it happened. They could pay to see the thing on the screen, to see WrestleMania as it happens in Madison Square Garden, but you could go to your local arena and they had big screens, closed circuit television. That's how they did it. It's the same premise. Why aren't they doing it? I'll tell you this. I think that they don't have to do it because it's probably the same damn set list everywhere she plays, and it's the same shit, the same setup, the same song. Everything is the same. The length of the concert, everything. It's freaking plug and play, same shit that you're going to see at every. If you've seen one Taylor Swift concert on that tour, you've seen them all. So why not just play the freaking thing? It doesn't matter where they're going to see it. It's the same concert. It isn't like Fish, where every show is different and you never know what they're going to do. And they could play 13 straight shows and not repeat a song. And like what they're talking about maybe doing at the Sphere, normies can't understand that shit. They're like, well, don't you want to hear the hits? That's what the guy said about in the Las Vegas Review Journal, because they might be doing a residency at the Sphere, at the new place, like an 8-day residency. And it says something about no repeats being, which would the Fish fans want no repeats. But it's like saying, people in the Review Journal put in this thing and say, I don't understand it. They go, wouldn't you want to hear their hits? I'm like, well, to Fish fans, all the
Fish
songs
doesn't have hits.
and they know their favorites. They're all hits to Fish fans. You know what I mean? It's like 80% of the stuff is stuff that you really, really want to hear, and every person wants to hear it.
Man, I love my own jokes. I'm sorry.
There's too much.
I'm still laughing at my joke.
No, but that's fine. But it's like there's not a band like that where freaking you go to the concert. It's hard to explain. You don't want to see the same songs. Even though you might have your 5 favorite Fish songs, every time you go to see them, you don't want to see those same 5 songs. You don't. You want, because they do so much other stuff. They're not like other bands, that's what's great about them. But other people, like Taylor Swift, probably do the same damn set list. No creativity, no nothing. What I don't understand is how she got so big all of a sudden. She's been around for like 15 years, and I've heard her name, and I know of her and everything else. But when did she become this icon that the last 2 years, all the concert tickets gone up and everything?
It's not
what
been,
happened?
it hasn't been the last 2 years. It's significantly grown. She was an icon when my kids went to see her in 2012 or 13, the Red Tour. That's when they were kind of into them, and I got the tickets on StubHub, which back then StubHub actually was like a place where you could get a deal on tickets that people wanted to sell, and it wasn't just like Ticketmaster 2.0 or whatever. And she was huge then. And she was more country pop when she started, and then got into this pop routine. But that's 10 to 11 years ago. I'm pretty sure maybe it was 2013. So exactly, it was like just over 10 years ago. She was already huge. It's just grown since then. And it was just that she was trying to do something different with the tickets the last time, and it caused a big like breakdown or shutdown on the system or whatever. And I think that's just why she got even more publicity in the last couple of years.
Yeah, but she was charging more than everybody else, where in the past it wasn't like that. Everyone's been talking about
I think the
how
goal
much
was
she was
that no,
charging
that
and
she
what a
got
big deal it
smoked.
was.
I think it was that she tried to do this, yeah, this tiered pricing, and it actually worked. It worked like totally against what she was, I think, trying to achieve from that. And it sort of almost seemed like elitist in the sense like only the rich could afford to see her almost, or that she was milking her fans. I'm surprised it didn't backfire even more. Uh,
Right.
but then based on that hiccup or whatever, I think she changed the way it was done moving forward. But that's why I think she was in the news more because of how that was done. But she's been huge for a long time.
Okay. Yeah, I
Yeah.
guess I don't know. I don't listen to real radio, so I don't hear. I just started hearing this past year or two about the tour prices and what's going on and blah blah
Well,
blah. But it wasn't like I was hearing about her like she was like what Madonna was to us when we were young, or like superstardom. You know what I mean? So I don't
oh,
know.
Madonna
You know,
did
I just
cross over into film, whether you liked her acting or not. Taylor Swift, I don't think has done that yet. But she's like, I mean, I think the numbers that she's doing, like it's Madonna level, if not surpassed,
yeah,
to be
no,
honest.
well, inflation and everything else, I
Yeah.
get it. I'd like to know how much money the tour makes, you know?
Yeah. Well,
Curious about it,
it's,
but
I think it's
whatever.
set, I think it's set to say that this is the biggest, like the biggest ever. Like, I believe that's why it was getting these headlines.
See, I never would have imagined that.
Like people are
You know, like
crying.
20 years
People
from
are
now,
crying like emotional wrecks based on the fact that they didn't get tickets and posting it online. Like this is like mental breakdowns. This is like people posting their dirty
so
laundry in a
weird.
sense. Like why do we want to see that? Like people's like whether they're happy that they got this shit or sad that they didn't get it and literally losing their minds online.
Well, who's watching it? Well, who's watching it? You know what I'm saying?
Well,
Are people watching it? Then
yeah, but what ends up happening is
somebody wants to see it.
when the articles get posted, those that went a bit more viral, of course, get attached to the article. Just like anything now, they social media like you have like a news article, quote unquote, that gets posted, and then now they'll add social media clips to it. Like that makes any difference. You know, people on Twitter are outraged, and then they'll put like, who gives a fuck if so and so's outraged?
Good, let them be outraged. What do I care? Right?
Yeah.
I don't pay them no mind.
Yeah,
Whoever,
that's
everybody's outraged about something. I'm done with it. I don't care. Everybody's so negative. It's crazy. You can't even look at the Facebook feed. It's just so much negativity.
but
It's
you
so
do.
crazy.
You do. I look at it and then I shake my head and I'm like, I'm about
Right.
to post something and I don't. I I
Right. And then you
I
can't.
told you I've
Right.
stopped myself where I used to do it a little bit more, like a lot more so, a couple years ago, 3, 4 years ago, whatever it may be. And yeah, I'm not priding
I'm
myself on
gonna
it. It's just so annoying. And then I realized I don't necessarily want to get into conversation. I don't want to type shit out constantly.
no.
I would, like I said, I say my shit on here. If someone wants to come on the show, we could talk it out. But I really realized that I don't really want to engage in a lot of conversation with a lot of people. But not people that, again, it's balance. It's a lot of the people that we deal with on a day in and day out, or that are listeners to our show. That's different. I'm talking about other people. I'm not just saying that to save face. I'm just saying that that's the reality of it.
Right.
Like when Warren Money reaches out and talks to me, I want to talk to him. I like that. Jamie Bryant, of course. But I'm talking about there's other people that I'm just like, why the fuck am I engaging? What's this back and forth going to end up? What's the end result here? And it's never like it's just not worth my time or energy. And that might
Yeah.
seem like an assholey thing to say, and I don't mean to be an asshole, uh, but I guess I am.
Well, there's just a lot of complaining about stuff, and everybody's angry, man. Everybody has so much anger built up in them, and none of it's doing any good for anybody. And that's what people don't realize. You can believe
Masturbate
in what you
more,
want to
everybody.
believe in.
Yeah.
Just stop being angry. Everything has to be anger. And like, here's something here. I made a very strong effort to not complain on Facebook about trivial things because I strongly feel like it's screaming into the void and arguing with people who aren't there. You're right. That
Yeah.
said, If you go into a Taco Bell and order a catering size order on the fly so that the entire restaurant is on hold for 45 minutes, so your $600 purchase, I hope that it gives you diarrhea and your taco meat has a curly red hair in it. I'm so sick of my aesthetic only teeth. I want the decrepit functional ones back so that Taco Bell isn't one of the 4 things I can chew. I don't even know what to make of that. And why people put that online.
Because they're mad. Because they got stuck in Taco Bell and that happened to them. And they felt the need, like, I'm not innocent. In the past, I've posted shit like this. And then, and whatever, it's passive. Some of it is just aggressive. Some of it's passive aggressive. And I've just said, it's enough's enough. Because what they've done is they've contradicted themselves. Like, but the first part is where they should have just left it. The first 2 sentences. Because that's exactly sums up what we're saying. They're talking about their negativity, not posting their negativity just feeds into the void or whatever. That's exactly what it is. And that's what everybody, pretty much what everybody's doing. But at least they sprinkled a little bit of comedy in there, which is always good. And so,
which is the way I would do it.
So I could get that, but then it just went on maybe a sentence too long thereafter. But again,
I just came across it quickly.
That's
it was
social
the first
media
complaint that I saw. Well, yeah, but I'll tell you what, if my teeth were falling, if I had bad teeth and everything else, I wouldn't talk about it online. Same way if I went to the hospital, if I'm rushed to the hospital tonight, I can promise you're not going to see a picture of me tomorrow from my hospital bed posting saying, hey guys, I'm in the hospital. I had a kidney. I would never put myself in a position where people can look at me where I look. Okay, I don't want to sound like I'm fucking trying to be machismo. It's not that. I just don't want to be looked at weakened like that. Just
I just think that's well, again, we understand what social media shouldn't just be about attention seeking. It really shouldn't be, but that's what it's become for a lot of people. That's attention seeking to be. Oh, spent the last 9 hours in the hospital. Oh, woe is me, or look at me. Woke up this way.
I don't know. I get it, you're bored if you're in a hospital bed. So I understand to a degree, but you're not going to see my picture there. Unless I'm dead, my wife takes my picture.
I'm not going to post. I might text you and say, hey, man.
Oh,
Spent the last fucking 10 hours in the hospital. Sucks.
That's different.
Whatever. Just whatever. But that's it. That would be the extent of it. But I'm not looking like, even that, it's more like just for information because
a group chat,
friends and whatever. And that's it. But I'm not talking. I'm not going to post it on my feed.
No way. Yeah. Well, you're not going to see my fucking face on the feed ever anyway. So I'm not putting myself out there. I'm just not doing it. I saw something. Dude, I saw something so funny the other day. Somebody posted. Oh, what the hell did they say? They posted a picture of their child. And then the next day they made this post saying, I saw that I had 20 likes and 1 share of this picture of my child. And she goes, I don't know who it was, but they got mad because somebody shared the picture of their child. I did not give anyone permission to share pictures of my child online. And I'm thinking, you dumb idiot. Don't you realize that if you put a picture of your child online, how easy it is for anyone to save it and go anywhere around the world with it? So one person shared it somewhere and she couldn't find out who it was based on, I guess you can't tell who shares it. I don't know. Maybe they don't know what they
should be able to.
Then they didn't know what they were doing. And then on top of it, assumes that the person that shared it is one of the 20 that liked it. How do you know? But how do you get out there and say, I'm going to put a picture of my child up there in the public for the world to see, and people can cast spells on it?
That's fucking just stupid.
And do all this shit, stupidity. And then get mad because someone, that's why you don't put your stuff out there, because don't open the world.
That's what the fuck.
I don't understand.
That's the level of stupidity we're dealing with. No, that's just stupid. Yeah. You're putting it on social media. I don't get people. And they get mad about it. Like, fuck. Drives me crazy. They liked, by the way, they gave Natty Knox 4 stars. I'm not going to lie to you, though. When you told me Dwight H. Little directed it, I was intrigued. Even though I feel like it was probably, he was probably at like maybe a convention doing Halloween 4 publicity, talking maybe with Daniel Harris, who knows? And they maybe this was put together with why don't we get him? We can get this, and then maybe these films get
Maybe.
greenlit, knowing that they cherry picked a few horror celebs, and every now and then there might be a good movie that comes out of it. Typically, they're not. I don't think Natty Knox is going to
No.
change that, but I will. Dwight H. Little, I liked Phantom. I liked Halloween 4. I like Getting Even. I think he did that Murder at 1600. I think it was his most mainstream film.
Okay.
Came out in the 90s, I believe. But I haven't really watched many of his films since.
Yeah, I know nothing about him except Halloween. I don't know. I don't pay attention.
Don't play that
I
Halloween
don't
shit
remember
with me.
Phantom and yeah. So Greta Van Fleet is not a person; it's a band, huh? I just figured this out.
Who's Greta Van Fleet?
Oh, there you go. So you're even worse than I've seen the name a few times, and I assumed it was a
I'm pulling
person.
to you.
But someone just said, of course, Greta Van Fleet is not as good as Led Zeppelin. Led Zeppelin is one of the greatest bands ever, but if you love Zeppelin and know every one of their albums by heart, I would recommend trying out Greta Van Fleet. They have a lot of great songs. It's not a person. Greta Van Fleet, I thought she was a fucking on Fox News or some shit. I don't know. Either way, I had no idea it was a band till that second. That's what I get for looking at the, it does. I'm telling you, I think it's a Fox News correspondent, Greta Van Fleet. All this time, somebody would have put a gun to my head, said, "Who's Greta Van Fleet?" I would have said they're on Fox News. I don't
All
know
this
why,
time, when was the first time you heard this? I don't even know when these people came aboard. They just released an album in this past summer, so I'm trying to think. It looks like they do have some. 2017. It looks like they've been around since 2017, so I don't feel that bad.
Right?
A Michigan
I don't
four-piece.
know, dude.
Greta Van. You know what? I have heard them because if they're comparing them to Zeppelin, I probably remember their debut album coming out and thinking, "Wow, that song sounds great," and I thought it sounded like a lost Led Zeppelin song in a sense. I'm almost positive, but I never remembered that name, and I'm only guessing because I remember making that comparison that they sound very Zeppelin-esque. But if you emulate a band too much and you don't have your own thumbprint, that's not necessarily a good thing. It seems like you're more of a tribute band, even if you're making your own music.
Well, it's like the White Stripes. I love the White Stripes, and they remind me of Zeppelin sometimes. It's like it's the same thing with Oasis and the Beatles. It's the same thing with Fish and Fish. It's kind of everything. It's kind of Beatles, Floyd, the Dead, and their own thing. It's hard to really, but it's like it doesn't mean that they're bad. But like, I think White Stripes are great, but they to me sounded like a modern Led Zeppelin, the way that the style of music they played.
I never made that comparison, and I love both of them.
Really,
I never really thought that. Like, yeah, but that's fine. And even you saying that,
listen,
I'm like, really? Yeah,
dude, I'm telling you. Listen to their music. The guitar sounds like fucking Jimmy Page's guitar. The orchestration of the songs. I'm telling you, it's like there's a couple other songs that I've compared to Zeppelin. There's been a couple tracks from Foo Fighters that I thought had a Zeppelin type sound to them, shit like that. But I've always said it's like Oasis. What?
No, I was just gonna say that's. I don't know. Maybe it is emulating, but I think that's paying tribute, homage to, because of the influence they've had. Whereas, and again, I don't know Greta Van Fleet well enough. I'm just going by what you just said and thinking, not even knowing yet. I got to listen to the track. Like 4 albums, it looks like. Listen to that track, but I'm almost positive it's that band that I remember saying and said, "Wow, they sound like Zeppelin."
Right.
And
that's fair.
That's not necessarily a bad thing, but when there's like not a differentiation, then it feels that I don't know how much traction you can get from that. They've got 4 albums of traction. I might be in the minority. Again, I'm only saying that like there's one thing about paying tribute and maybe having a song or two or a handful of songs that sound like so and so or whatever. That's fine. That's just influence and whatever. But if your whole persona, your whole sound is that? I don't know.
Well, no, it's like Oasis. Oasis' whole sound isn't the Beatles, but they do
No.
things in their song
Yeah.
that are lifted from the Beatles, and they do it, and they have it, and they have their style, but they're still great. I mean, anybody can imitate, but if you're going to imitate and do other stuff, you got to put your own. It's like remaking a movie. If you're going to
That's
remake a
it.
movie, remake it. It's like that type of discussion. You still have to be great at what you're doing. You can't just ape off someone else's stuff. Anybody can knock off the Beatles. Anybody can
Which is
knock off bands, but you got to be
which is
great at what you're doing. You got to be musicians. Same thing with White Stripes. These are all talented musicians. They choose to do a style because they grew up with it and they enjoy it.
which has always perplexed me about the Rob Zombie remake of Halloween and even Friday the 13th, which is why it's more of a reboot. I could use the reboot term and not feel, because they keep the same music. Like, you've got the mask that's the same, the music's the same. I'm telling you, Phantom of the Opera, there's been how many versions of that, and shit changes. They've changed the mask, the look, but Halloween was so iconic that even though he was remaking it, and because I think, again, if I remember correctly, this was supposed to start as a prequel, and then as the things evolved, they realized, I think we need to make a little bit more out of it. So that's why we've got that first hour as prequel and the second hour as redo, in a sense. But it's the same mask, or you know what I mean, the same design, the same music coming back as well. I'm not saying that there's not other elements of music in there, but if you have the same theme song, because it's so iconic, you've already put yourself, you've already backed yourself into a bit of a trap, right? You're not, but I guess they figured we need to have that same mask and we need to have that music to still keep it Halloween. But if it was a true remake,
that's what makes it. Yeah.
but if it's a true remake, then yeah, but then it's just another, really, it's just another sequel in a sense, like redo it. Like a remake, like you're saying, make it your own.
Wow.
It shouldn't have those elements.
Yeah, but then it can't be Halloween. If you went to see a Halloween movie and the killer was wearing a different mask than Michael Myers, even if it's a remake, wouldn't that be off-putting to you? What do you want Michael Myers to wear?
Yeah, I'm telling you, he was backed into a corner one way or the other. That's why I think they had to go that route. But it should have been probably something else. What if, like, if it was no mask, people would have had an uproar. But like it would have been interesting to see. It would have been interesting to see how they could have done that. Like, he was screwed one way or the other. Although people do now, it seems, hail his remake separately. But true Halloween fans still say the two worst Halloweens are the Rob Zombie ones, and then they'll throw in kills.
A lot of people hate
or
them.
ends in that mix as well. And Resurrection gets some free pass or something or other, which is fucking mind-boggling to me.
Well, again, that's anger. That's what takes over.
Well, I'm angry. I mean, I agree in the other way. I guess when we talk about it, I will I'll substitute anger for passion as our scapegoat out of that argument. But I mean, this is our show. We get to talk about it. I don't know. Am I really angry? The Spookies really make me mad at the end? I don't really believe it does. No, I just
no.
That's where the passion comes into play. They're all fucking.
Well, look at it this way. If everybody felt the same way about Spookies as you do, you wouldn't even talk about it. You talk about it because you hear people that we know that quite enjoy it, and it's mind-boggling to you.
They admit. I think they openly admit that it's not a good movie. They just get enjoyment from it, which is fine. I've said the same thing.
Well, yeah.
Speaking of which, a new one that just came out. Like one, I've never cared. I've always said on the show, I've never been offended by when something says it's going to get a remake or whatever. I've been like, ooh, interesting. That was like Suspiria when I found out. I wasn't like, oh, but I was like, oh, wow, I wasn't expecting that to get a remake, but why not? Everything else has. Right. And I'm okay. I'll go into it and judge it on its own merit. The Toxic Avenger has been announced, for like 7+ years now, it seems. And they have first images
about that one.
First images of it. You know what I here again.
People are mad.
I'm going to go in there open-minded. But what makes the Toxic Avenger what the Toxic Avenger was is you got this B movie company that was trying to do something on the cheap and succeeded. And some of that way around it, the way that they worked it, is its charm. It's the fact that it's B movie. It's the fact that there wasn't a lot of money behind it. It's the fact that they went with the overtop gore. Now you've got overtop gore in Wolverine or Logan. I think Logan was the one that was gory. That Daredevil. It's made its way to the Marvel universe now. So the Toxic Avenger now, it's not even a far leap that this could be a mainstream movie that's gory. I don't know if it's. I'm not sure about it. I'm going to give it its day in court. I'm going to watch it and judge it on its own merits. But I think what made the first one so good was the low budget nature of it. The fact that it almost felt like you shouldn't be seeing this stuff. Like a kid's head getting
at
rolled
the
over
time.
and people taking Polaroids of it and whatever. It just felt dirty, but yet worked in a way. Not dirty in like, a sleazy, like, well, there's some of that too, but not like in a way like, don't go in the house felt like, or whatever. And you're just like, ooh, like that was a different ugliness.
Well, because that's serious.
This had a playfulness to it and whatever.
Right.
And again, all of that charm came from like the continuity errors, almost like you knew that they felt. Did they do this on purpose? Like taco shells from falling them, and then they come back to them, and it's tortilla chips or whatever. Just things like that. That's what I love about it, and just the overall goofiness of it. Now that they've got a budget and everything else, I'm intrigued, and I will watch it. But I'm worried that like everything, I'm cautious. I don't know what. I don't know if it's going to be successful now because gore's made its way in the mainstream that it's almost like, will a Toxic Avenger remake work now?
I don't even think gore is what they're going for. No. People are up in arms because everybody that's cast in it are like Hollywood people. And it looks like it's going to be like a goofy type comedy. And I think the Toxic Avenger is like a little person or something else. It's like all this
it's the guy
weird
from,
things going on.
Yeah.
Which, what sense does that make? It's almost like they're trying to make.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like a Sharknado. Like they're trying to turn. It's like they're trying to turn Toxic Avenger into like a Sharknado type comedy.
And whether or not that's what they were doing before, I think that came out and it felt natural. You could see it in Toxic Avenger and you could see it in Class of Nukem High. And then things sort of changed because the sequels to all those felt like they were emulating what made the first one so great. And the first ones were just like kind of like sleepaway camp and or whatever it was. And I didn't appreciate sleepaway camp at the time as much. I do now, but I'm just saying that right. You've got that look and everything else after felt like an emulation. Like we're talking about the bands just like minutes ago, where, and there was something just organic that came out and everything like lightning in bottles, you said it just made them work. And I think that's where that comes into play. And I've always been kind of hesitant on a glossy Hollywood remake, but I've never been against it. It's just been, how are they going to achieve, how is this going to work? And I almost thought, I wish James Gunn was directing it in a sense, because he came from at least the Troma fold. But it's not him.
I don't know what to think about it. I don't know. I'm not going to see it at the theater. I can tell you that much. But I'll see it when it's, unless I start hearing some crazy things about how great it is from pre-screenings or things like that. But I'm like, I don't know. I'm not expecting much. But at the same point, it won't surprise me if something does great come out of it. I can't even talk. But what I'm saying is this. I've learned when it comes to things like this, just to give it a shot. We don't know.
Well, guess who's directing it though? It's a decent director. Macon Blair, man. Macon Blair, I think I'm saying his name correctly. Blue Rain, Green Room, Murder Party. Like, that's a good choice. If it's not going to be James Gunn.
That's not the guy that directed those movies.
Oh, he acted in them. He acted in them then. Sorry.
Yeah, he's
the actor in them. I apologize. Right. But he did he direct? He directed something. What did he direct?
The name sounds familiar, 100%, but maybe as an actor it sounds familiar.
No, this is actually, it doesn't, he directed, I Don't Feel at Home at This World Anymore in Room 104, a television episode. So this is like not his feature debut, because he did it looks like he did something for Netflix or a TV thing, but definitely his biggest movie. But as an
There you go.
actor, he's damn good. I can't comment on
Right.
it from a directing
Okay.
standpoint.
Jeremy Saulnier. That's the guy that directed those movies. Murder Party, Blue Room, Green Room, Hold the Dark, True Detective. Hasn't done anything since 2019. Wow.
But
He's got
he's
two
in this
upcoming
movie too.
projects. Huh.
It's a good
He's
cast.
in it?
It's a good cast
Oh,
that's in Toxic Avenger. It's not what you'd expect from a movie called The Toxic Avenger. I can understand why people, but if you're expecting
right.
when you think of um, A list, not all of these are A list. Like Kevin Bacon's the big name. Jacob Tremblay is the kid. Like you've seen him in tons of things. He was in
Yeah.
Before I Wake was the Mike Flanagan film, and then
Okay.
he's taken off since then because he was in like a bunch of movies since Wonder and a bunch of movies, The Room,
It's
and
just weird.
much. But yeah, I think the announcement of Kevin. Why does his name escape me? I just said it. What's
Kevin
his
Blair.
name?
No, I was making. Kevin, what's his name?
From Friday the 13th.
Friday the 13th? Yeah.
Why?
Bacon.
Bacon,
Took me a second.
bacon.
Macon and Bacon. They're in the same movie. Wow. How about that?
What
Macon
the fuck?
Bacon.
What is happening? Why
Wow.
did and I made you, my brain fart made you have to think about it for a second too.
Yeah.
It was Kevin, because I think I was
know.
Kevin Bacon. I'm like, that's not right. But Kevin
Kevin
Bacon was
Macon.
not coming.
No,
up.
Macon
That's
Blair.
the fucking weirdest thing that happened. But I I will check it out.
Kevin Bacon, Macon Blair.
I can't say, oh my god.
Kevin
I can't
Bacon,
say-
Macon Blair. That's great.
I can't say that I'm intrigued, but also very like skeptical of it at the same time. I don't know. It'll be interesting. I can check
Don't
it
you
out,
think
obviously.
Bacon Blair? Man, Bacon Blair would be a better
Still
name.
the
Like if
fucking
Kevin's
names.
because it's great because think Macon and
Elijah
Bacon in
Wood's
the
in it
same
too.
movie.
Yeah.
You'll never
Macon
see that
Bacon.
again. We know that. But seriously, Macon and Bacon in the same movie, you'll never see it again. I mean, think about it. Ooh, like, too bad it's not the other way around. Too bad his name isn't Kevin Macon. Kevin Macon, Bacon Blair. That would be
Yeah.
great. Bacon Blair would be a great fucking name. What you think? What's your name? Bacon Blair. Right? I don't know. I like it. And Kevin Macon, it sounds better than
And
Kevin
Wood.
Bacon, I think.
We got Wood.
And we got Wood.
You got to play
got
around with
Wood.
those credits for that.
Right.
But-
Macon, Bacon, Blair, Wood. Wow, there's lots of shit going on. See, that being that type of movie, they should make jokes about it. But they won't. We're probably right. It's going to, we'll see.
Well, I don't know, man.
don't know.
I'm hesitant. I
Oh, big
usually
time.
I'm usually not. I usually don't even care.
I
When
know.
Friday the 13th, it was like, it's about fucking time. We had, because at that point, the remakes had already been like a few years happening. I'm like, now it's happening? Like, this should have happened. I thought that would have been one out of the gate. But once again, funny enough, when we I don't know if we've ever commented on it, it came out 2 years after the Halloween remake. Just like it came 2 years, the original came 2 years after Halloween. Which is why I thought a new Friday the 13th movie was going to come out in 2020. But I thought, I don't think it wasn't resolved yet, but I thought maybe they would have come to a resolution because of the fact that they saw Halloween being not re-released, but the new trilogy starting and it being a hit. I thought that would just shut it down right now, knowing that they can make millions and be happy.
Mm-hmm.
But no, they kept it going, and we didn't get that movie.
Why the hell? Why wasn't the Friday the 13th music used in the remake? They used it in a Halloween remake. How do you not take that score from Friday
I
1?
thought they did. Didn't they? A little bit.
All they did was
at all?
they did that. Yeah, they did.
That's what I meant.
They did that.
That's all they needed.
I mean, no, fuck that. That's all they needed. I want the music. I want.
No, it's a new movie. That's I'm happy.
Yeah, but Halloween did it.
That's what I'm saying.
Halloween used the same music because it's fucking.
It's a misstep
think,
for
see?
a remake. For a remake, it's a misstep. If they
Yeah, but
really,
that's
he was
iconic
trying to
shit.
put his own vision on it. So it's really just a different take, but still using the same. It's like in the same like alternate dimension, nature versus nurture, but same mask and same music for the most part, and go from there. Like you know,
Yeah, but
I think they should have. He just should have been. I get it. It would have been weird to see a different mask. I'm not going to lie, and it may have. It probably wouldn't have worked, and you would have alienated Halloween fanboys even more so. But it would have been different. He did it in part two. Yeah. He's wearing half a mask for half the movie, and then not wearing a mask for the other half. So it's almost like he said, "Fuck the mask" in part two. You want me to go different? I'll go different.
You're right. He had to do it in part one. See, that's the difference. That is when you had the producers coming in saying, okay, we're doing Halloween. What do you got to do? You got to have a Laurie. You got to have a fucking Michael. You got to have the mask. That's probably what they told him. We want you to have the music. I'm sure this is production. I'm sure this is I don't think it's Rob Zombie's decision. You're probably right. As an independent filmmaker like Rob Zombie, as a guy that has his own ideas, I would imagine that he thought like you. I want to do my own thing and change all this stuff. And they probably said, no, as part of the agreement, you include this, this, and this, and this, and then everything else, it's up to you what you want to do.
I remember the music track. The music track came out early, if you remember. That just at the first. Here's the first bit of Halloween from the new movie, and it was the new music,
and it was
had
the cool version.
Yeah, but it was it was what we knew. So I'm like,
I know.
Right out of the gate, I'm like, oh, they are using it. And again, it's like I'm excited because you kind of need it, because it's so iconic. But if you're doing a remake, I was like a little bit like, oh, well, I guess they are using it. But I guess their whole thought process is it initially started as a prequel. And if it was going to be a prequel, and maybe that was all marketing, maybe they knew it was going to be 50-50. And so they said, okay, well, then we could use the music if it's a prequel because it's within the universe. And then they changed maybe the producers came in and said, you don't have enough here to do just on the prequel only. We don't want us to be we don't want us to be Darth Vader as a kid. We need this. We don't think it's going to be commercially successful. So you could do 50-50. And then that's what the movie we got. So that's where then the mask was born and whatever. Again, I'm rewriting history here. I don't know the ins and outs.
It'd be nice
I'm sure Rob Zombie's talked about it, but it'd be nice just to directly ask, hey, there was a point when this was just 100% prequel, correct? Yes. When did it get turned into and why did it get turned into? I'm almost positive it was 100% prequel.
I don't remember that. I remember hearing Rob Zombie. Really? I remember hearing just Rob Zombie's remaking Halloween. When the news broke, that's what I remember hearing. Rob Zombie's, penned to do the remake of Halloween. I never once heard someone say there's a prequel of Halloween coming up. I don't recall that. Okay. I mean, we can Google it and see if there's old articles.
Yeah. Oh, my memory might be totally skewed, right? It's we're going back to
I don't know
2006 because obviously it was before the movie was released and everything, and going back to that time frame. But maybe I'm remembering. Maybe they're saying, well, now it's 50% prequel, 50% remake. Maybe that's, and I'm just I am rewriting history, possibly. My memory.
I don't know. I'd like to see if there's an article somewhere. No, see, that's new. Oh well.
Because the Halloween music isn't really predominant in the sequel, correct? In his H2.
It's at the very end credits. I think that's it though. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's almost like an FU.
Yeah, I think so.
And then let's face it, the mask is that's why I like it, because the mask is half off his face, and then he's a fucking hobo for the rest of it.
It's realistic in that respect. I think it's good. I wish I could find the news though. But let me ask you a serious question. It just occurred to me.
And everybody hates it in Halloween, other than you and I and a few other people that have now come up on it.
Well, more people are digging it.
Yes.
More people are. It's getting there. It's having the Halloween 3 treatment, maybe.
But not if you're a true. So again, not if you're a fanboy. If you're a fanboy, Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 is at the very bottom with now ends being right next to it. If you're a Halloween part of that generic mainstream Halloween fan base. Which again, it's blasphemous. With Resurrection being above them. Although I know Brandon rated it higher upon that last time. I think he was just trying to throw it a bone. And I know Jamie's apologist for it to a certain degree. If I'm maybe I
For
put
what?
words in her mouth.
Resurrection?
Maybe I'm putting words in her mouth. Jamie, don't kill me
No.
if I'm wrong on that. But I could give a little bit, like I said, if they squeezed out all the juice from that first 15 minutes and made that the movie, it would have been like a Halloween 2 kind of reborn, where just being in the psycho ward and him trying to get to Jamie and off and anybody gets in his way could have been more intriguing than the webcams, that's for sure. A bit generic,
Well,
but the webcams didn't work. So that's it. But
no.
that's the bottom rung. That there's no ifs, ands, or buts. That's the worst one. No
Oh, I
questions
I
to me.
agree.
Yeah.
I agree. And this is the thing. The reason Halloween fanboys, like you said, hate Halloween the remake is because they do the dreadful thing that everybody does that I used to do that I learned from not to do it. It's called not compare. That is, if you want happiness in the movie world and in life in general. I was just telling Francesca about this yesterday. If you want true happiness, rule number one is don't compare. Don't compare your life to anybody else's. Don't compare anything to anything because that's a waste of time and it's going to drive you nuts. It's the same thing with movies.
Yeah.
When a remake comes out or anything,
You're right.
do not compare. Take it for what it is. Otherwise, like that guy says, you're going to have a bad time. You know what I mean? It's true. It's that South Park guy, you know?
Yeah.
You're going to have a bad time.
The other air is giving humanity, not humanity, but we knew it didn't work, or for me it didn't work. Darth Vader is a kid, takes away some of the mystique. So Michael Myers is a kid. You've got to handle it a certain way. And I'm not sure. I feel like I'm okay with what he did, but I feel like it could have been done differently. I mean, I would have done it differently, I guess, where I'm going with it. So that's difficult because you're then judging the movie that you've got versus the movie that you want. And you could drive yourself crazy there because you're comparing it to your own vision or whatever it could be. But that, I even when watching it at the time, I'm like, you know, and I know you don't care about the swearing, even though it comes out of like you know, you're thrown right into it, right out of the gate.
Yeah, it was
like
too much. Yep.
You're just like, whoa, this is a lot. Like out of the gate. Like, I mean, they could have like eased us into this a little bit, but it's more than that. Yeah. But anyway.
It was so fucked up to me when I saw Halloween Rob Zombies at the theater. And I remember where it was, the Texas Station in Vegas. It's a casino, but they had the theater in there too. And I remember going to see it, and I don't know why this happened, and it's never happened before or since. But when I was watching the movie and the way it opened, and there was all the swearing at the dinner, at the breakfast table, and all this stuff was going on, I had like a feeling for like 10 minutes. I guess the only thing you could do was call it a panic attack. And I can't explain why, but I felt like a real weird fucking feeling, like of just comfort. I just didn't want to be there, and I don't know why it happened. I don't know why.
Well, is it
I was watching this?
Is it because you're like, oh fuck, it's off the rails and we just started, or is it, oh, he created this really bad environment, so he was successful in the environment he was created? Because I'm like, this is ugly and I don't want to see this. Or I
have no idea why I felt that way. I did. I can't explain why. All I know is as I was watching it, it was like off-putting, and it made me feel a way that I haven't, where I was just like a bundle of nerves. I don't know. It was the weirdest thing, and it went away and everything else, but it was, I don't know. But then I remember being really bored in the final chase, and he's doing this and punching the fucking thing and everything.
Yeah, I remember that too. But I remember not liking that. I remember the dad being duct taped up, like sleeping. and somehow waking up all duct taped. To me, it was like a laugh. Like, I'm like, what?
Really?
Like, yeah, it just seemed like,
I loved that whole
how loud duct tape is when you're doing it. I understand the guy's passed out on the couch. I get it, but it just made, and then seeing Mike, and then him walking with full grown, like small kid with the full Michael Myers mask just looked ridiculous.
Looking like a little person. Yep.
Yeah. It just, all these stuff, I was just like, took me out of the movie the first time, and every time I've seen it since. But I mean, I've it's grown on me for sure, sure. And again, I kind of like the theatrical refilm of his escape, which is more traditional, as opposed to the
Yes.
Quentin Tarantino version, director's cut, which is the
Right.
rape and whatever.
Right. No, I agree with that. I definitely agree. Although there's aspects to it that I like, that they come in and they mess with his mask and like certain things. And
Yeah.
so it's almost like I wish they could have some of it, but not all of it. I don't know. It's hard to, but here's a question that I've been meaning to ask since we started talking about the music and Halloween and Friday the remakes. Can you think of any other remake that has been done that has used the same music except Halloween? We've had all these movies remade,
No, I
right?
mean like
All
Texas
these horror
Chainsaw. I
movies
think Texas Chainsaw did
over
little nodes with the sound of the
the,
or
yeah, they
whatever. But
did.
that was in whether it be in the trailer or at the opening credits or whatever. So that's more of that
Right.
I attribute as homage based on the fact that we're in a different time and whatever. But no, I really don't
But the
recall
score,
the score being the same, which is what I'm saying. If you're remaking it, you're
it's a good
remaking it.
question.
And again, I think they knew that they had a fan base that they didn't want to disappoint, and so certain elements had to be there. You
Man,
could do your own take. It's almost like you can remake the theme, but that theme's got to be there. So it's like Rob Zombie's take on that theme, but the essence is
right.
still had to be there, and the masks has to be there. Other than that, have at it.
Yeah. But it's weird. I don't think I'm going to have to look deeper into this. I can't think of one. And if whoever's listening, let us know. I want to know if anyone else has taken the score from the source, the origin, and put it in their movie. I want to say it had to have been done, right? It's almost ridiculous not to think that it has been done, but it proves your point, though. You're saying you should separate. You should not have
You
it.
got to keep them separated.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome.
It's
Well,
not necessarily, but I'll take it. Should we? Should
we
we?
probably got to move. Yeah, we
Yeah.
probably got to move on.
I just
Can I
realized it's
just run
2 hour.
upstairs?
Yeah. Let's stop this bad boy
But
then.
but hold on. But hold on. Let's not. Let's not. Let me give my 10 girls for the week.
Oh,
I got to give my 10 crushes. So, and then we
like
got all
10
that stuff
girls for the
done.
week made it even creepier than usual. 10
Ah,
girls. Okay.
jeez. Yeah. Well, okay. All right, let's go back here. So I guess we're on 50, 40. I guess we're in the 30s. Well, again, it's not really in order anyway, but so okay. 39. 39, right? 30s? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. This is the first time. Oh no, I did it last time
Wait,
too. I
wait. Haven't you done 20 already, or have you only done 10? I think you've
yeah, I've
done
done
20.
20.
So shouldn't you be,
Okay,
was
so
it the top
29.
50? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I apologize. 29. So this is another time where I'm using the same name twice, and there's two people in there.
Oh,
And
here
it's
we go. Out of the gate.
Eva. Eva Longoria and Eva Mendes. There you have it. By the
Yep.
way, Eva Mendes was in one of those Children of the Corn movies as not the lead, but she was
I
on there a
think you
lot. And
mentioned
oh
that.
my
Yeah.
gosh.
5 or 6.
Did I?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think 5.
Yeah.
Mamma mia. Okay, so the two Evas. Love them. Love them. Love them. I don't know if you know who this person is. Jules Asner. You know who Jules Asner is?
No.
Okay, she used to be on the E channel. She used to do the E News Daily.
Oh, we didn't get that
Anyway,
up here unless I think you had to get some
okay.
specialty thing. Yeah. Fuck
I don't
you.
know what she looks like now. I haven't seen her in a while, but all I know is she was a significant crush for a while she was on that show. Very, very pretty girl. Okay, here's another one that you may or may not know. Olivia Munn. You know who she is?
No.
Okay, I think she's an actress, but the first time I saw her, she was hosting
I
the show called
think
Attack of
you
the
don't even
Show.
know.
No, but she was on my because I don't know what they're doing now. All I can
Oh,
do is when
okay.
she was on that show called Attack of the Show, which talked about video games and other stuff and something else back in the day in the mid 2000s, I want to say no early 2000s. She was obviously very memorable and incredible. So Jessica Alba, okay, we all know who she
Yeah.
is. I mean, holy cow. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, Jessica Alba. Okay. Here's one which has come on very strong the last few years, but it's a very very serious crush. She might even be top 10 at this point. That's how much into her I am. And it's Aubrey Plaza. Holy cow.
Yeah.
It's her personality on top of everything else.
Yeah.
She is
I
great. What a
agree.
down to earth, fun,
You see,
friggin' her comedy. I think she's
oh,
great, and I think
she
she's
her
just
delivery is
gorgeous on top.
fantastic. Yeah, this is
Yeah,
one of the ones
man.
I wholeheartedly agree with. Ingrid Goes West. If you haven't seen that movie, check it out, everybody.
No.
It's like a dark comedy. It's actually very well done. I really liked it. Uh, Ice Cube Jr.'s in it. I forget his name, but he's a
Oh,
good actor
okay.
from Swagger and
O'Shea Jackson.
yep.
Okay, yeah, because that's Ice Cube's name. So I was like, okay. Oh, so okay. So Aubrey, I spend more time watching her on YouTube and watching interviews she does and in real life stuff than anything. The only movies I've ever seen her in are the Child's Play movie, and she was in, what do you call it? A show, a White Lotus, one of the seasons of that.
Yes, she was also
But
great in that movie. It's late season
oh
2.
yeah,
She was great in that as well. And
she's
when I
incredible.
saw her in Child's
Oh my
Play,
god.
I mistaken her for a different actress. And I've always been, and when I went back, and both of them are good. I think I mistaken her for the girl that's in the Night House.
Oh
When I
really?
first
Rebecca
saw
Hall?
Child's Play, when I first went
Wow.
into Child's Play, I'm like,
Holy
oh, it's that
cow.
girl that was in the town. And I'm like, no, it's not her. And it's because I was in a park, I think she was in Parks and Rec. My wife liked it. I never really watched
She
it. I just
was.
knew she was on it. Um,
Yep.
but
That
so
was
then when
her
I saw
thing.
it, I'm like, oh, and I go, this girl's super attractive. And then I realized it was
Oh my god.
Audrey Plaza. So I'm right there with you.
Yeah, man, oh man. Okay. Um,
Or
Emma
Aubrey.
Roberts.
I
I
said
would,
Audrey. But Emma Roberts, well,
yeah, it's
that's
okay.
lower than you I expected that higher.
Well, again, well, these aren't in order. I keep telling you, I don't know.
True.
These are just ones that,
Yes.
honestly, she would be higher up, and so would Aubrey Plaza. They definitely be higher up than probably everybody else on out of these 10 that I'm talking about this show for sure. But oh my god, I was watching her the other day on the show on the new one, and I'm going to say it again about someone else later when we talk the movies, but her hair is amazing. I love Emma Roberts' hair. I mean, I love everything about her, her figure and everything else, and her face and everything, and her voice. And I'm really high on her. But man, yeah, her hair is amazing, and I think she's kind of crazy in real life too. So that kind of adds to it. So, because I know apparently she was beating up Evan Peters when they were married, which is never good. It was done to me. I got messed with by my first wife, but she was crazy, and maybe Emma's too. Anyway, okay, everyone knows who this Rosario Dawson, who I've
Yep.
always just been into, just since I think the first time I saw her was in well, it was in Kids, but I wasn't paying attention. But then I saw her in that movie, oh, what the hell was it? I forgot. I can't even. Either way. Uh yeah,
Death Proof.
just beautiful. Maybe. Maybe Death Proof. Um Beyonce, I'll just leave it at that. What else am I going to say about her? I've always thought she was incredibly attractive, especially since the early days. But yeah, Beyonce. The last two are people from wrestling, so you're not going to know who they are. One is a girl named
China.
one was in the 90s. Nope. Although China does have her fans. Tori Wilson. Tori Wilson was this beautiful blonde fitness model girl who was just absolutely stunning and still is. And AJ Lee. Oh my gosh, man. Just look her up. She is just awesome. Everything, the look she gives, her skin tone, her hair, she's so pretty. Her attitude. She's married to CM Punk, actually. She has
Well,
that
there's two
punky
turnoffs.
attitude herself.
She's into wrestling and she's married to CM Punk.
Wow. She was a wrestling fan all her life, and she freaking fought hard to get where she was with it. And then she was the queen for a while, but then they got her out. Her and Punk got weeded out of the WWE universe because of BS. But that's a whole other story. So AJ Lee, oh my lord, CM Punk's a lucky guy, and that's that. So,
Cool.
thank you for
Well,
indulging, but
yeah, good list.
I'm gonna
Good.
run. We're back. We're back. It's time for the main events, the short main events. But really, there isn't a whole lot to say about one of them, I would say. But it's Lucio Fulci week. So
Yeah,
what we got?
and It's interesting because we've got Don't Torture a Duckling, which is what I guess we'll start with. And it's from 1972, Lucio Fulci, as you mentioned. And it's when a southern Italian town is rocked by a string of child murders. The police and two urban outcasts search for the culprit amid scapegoating within the superstitious community. And you know
There's a
what?
lot going on here.
This was a first time watch for me. I thought I'd seen this before. I was sure
Ah,
I saw this before, and I was wrong. So this is a first time watch, and it was interesting. It's a good movie. It's a good movie.
yeah.
I know he considers it his best directed film, as in Fulci does. It's his favorite
Okay.
of the movies he's directed. I know a lot of people love it, especially Fulci fans. I thought it was good. I thought it was. I'd say it's very good. But you know, again, first time watch. I've got no
Right.
attachment to it in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, it's got his thumbprint all over it. I mean, if you didn't tell me it was a Fulci film, or if I didn't see the credits or whatever like that, I think I could have guessed it.
True. No,
So
I hear you. Right.
he is an auteur because if that's it's like being a sommelier. If you can name everything by just tasting the wine, if you're watching this movie without any credits or any historical, like I guess knowledge, then and you can guess it, then you know that that director's done something well and has put his thumbprint on his films.
Right. 100%, man. This is my third time watch. I saw it once years ago when the Blu-ray first came out, and then I watched it like I don't know a year or two ago because we were talking about Fulci on 22 Shots for the Italian Horror Month. So maybe that was just last year. I don't know. And then last time I saw it, I said I'm looking forward to watching it again because I think I have a better understanding. And sure enough, last night was my third time, and last time I did enjoy it more than I have in the past. So that's good. It's a pretty interesting story. It's probably like it's a giallo, I would say, mystery. You know what I mean? And it's
Yeah, it's
like
kind of set up that way
probably his
for sure.
best. Yeah. I think I like it
Now,
better than the other giallo, you know, that he's done.
the the gore is not like it's gory. It by any means.
No.
It's more restrained from even the
Mhm.
action films that we covered when we did that non-horror Fulci
Right.
show and whatnot. I mean, those were I almost say significantly gorier, but it's the subject matter here that makes it a little bit more present. I think,
Children.
yeah, and I
Hmm.
think there's that one shot of the submerged child. I think
Yeah.
that's kind of like what there's if one image kind of haunts you from the movie, that's one of them for sure. Although the crazed
Yeah, it's
look of that
cool.
woman is kind of haunting. If I saw that as a kid, I think that would have been ingrained in my psyche as well.
She was good, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. She yeah, for sure. Yeah, she did have that crazy look and lots going on, man. Lots of different freaking they had a good amount of red herrings and a couple of twists and turns in the story, and you thought it was this is what it was. Then you found out no, this is what it actually is. Right up until the last like 5 minutes, it kind of
Yeah.
kept you guessing. That's what's
Now,
cool about it. See, this time I remembered. So I was kind of watching all the way through to see like little hints and this and that, and you know what I mean. But then I still forgot what was going on with the witch or the supposed witch, and I
yeah.
knew how she was involved, but I didn't. She wasn't actually doing the killing because I remember who the killer was. So I was like, okay, this. But it still made it intriguing because you have the witch girl, and then you have the guy in the woods, and then you have the red haired girl. Oh my gosh, isn't she
Well,
beautiful
that was
with
the
that
big
hair?
controversy. She's gorgeous, and the big controversy of
Yeah.
again, it's all film magic the way that they shot it, but again, this got like heavily criticized, and I think they were thinking of banning her or cutting the scene because they thought she was asking this underage kid to have. Well, she is
Right.
asking this underage kid, but in they thought this happened in person, like this was actually happening. And again, it's a
Oh.
combination of just movie magic. As I said, they used a little person to film the scene if it was from behind and she was in the frame, but she was asking this
Oh.
little kid to pretty much tempting him to sleep with her. And he runs
So
upstairs. It's a very
what
odd.
is
She's just
this?
bored. I think it's just supposed to be considered like she's stuck there and she's just kind of bored. And it's just her way of entertaining herself in a sense.
Now, why is it Now, this is just me. I can only talk about my feelings. But why is it if there would have been a man with a girl, I would have been repulsed by the scene? I mean, I know it's fiction, but I would have been repulsed at the idea because I know what happens in
Maybe
real
ever
life.
because you have a
I would
daughter
have.
or something like that.
Well, hold on.
Maybe. Oh, I thought you
No,
were asking the question.
has
You just
nothing
said,
to.
"Why is it?"
Well, let
And
me
I was
finish.
answering your question. Okay.
Well, hold on, let me finish. What I'm saying is, when you think about it, even in real life, when you think about a man like someone that's attracted to a naked in front of a young girl, you're gonna say, okay, well, this guy he's a heel, he's a pedophile piece of shit. You know what I mean? Now, when I watch this attractive woman doing it, talking to this young boy, and when I think about things in real life, when a girl in her 20s sleeps with a boy in her teens, even if because I know when I was 14, 15, 16, we used to talk about having sex with some of the teachers and older women. We wanted to do it, which is the difference between young girls and old men. But why is it that when I see her acting this way, it turns me on to her even more because I know she's a deviant even more so. Does that make me a sick person?
Yes, and because because there's a bit of a double standard there, and because you had that fantasy as a kid. But yeah, it's a total double standard. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's the exact
but let me ask
thing.
You, how did you feel? Now, do you think she's a villain because of that, or not? Because I know if it was a man doing it to a girl, you would villainize him immediately. But because of that scene, go ahead.
No, I thought it was very weird. I admit I did think it was very weird. But I mean, because she's so attractive, I was intrigued by her. But yes, the scene was very weird. I'm like, where the fuck is this going? Because again, first time watch. So I didn't know who the killer was. Right. However, I maybe again, just 72 versus now, so many movies, the innocent quote unquote one is the killer. And I know it's not the innocent, but so I thought, I bet you anything the priest did it. Oh, and there's spoilers, folks, if you haven't seen the show before or whatever. But it is a giallo, and for all the red herrings, exactly that. Like pretty much everybody in this movie, it could be the killer in the sense of like the redheaded girl. She's bored. Maybe she's bored, and she's taunted this kid.
Right.
Maybe she wants to kill them too, and they put her.
Show the phone call she made.
Exactly, they put her in little situations where it could easily be her. Or whatever. So that's where and that scene's there for that reason. But yes, it was weird. And I was a little, because again, it's Italian cinema, and Fulci does tend to go into areas that sometimes you're just not kind of sure of, which is why I think, moods and a lot of fans, like they love his movies because it's not mainstream. It's, you don't know if it's going to go this route. You're kind of like got a bit of a question mark, and that's, I think, what's intriguing about his movies.
For sure. And this is just a really good story, and it's shot well. I like the music in it. I like the acting in it, and it's just a good plot. I'm in it. Like the first couple times, I think I felt like you. But because this is my third time seeing it, going into it, it's different. So I'm like, okay, let me just sit back and enjoy it and not try to worry about it that's for a podcast or take a note or this or that, or I've seen it before. So I know what's going on here, So this time I just step back and enjoyed it without really taking notes and just watching for what it was. And I enjoyed it more than I had before. And I think it's really good. I just think it's a damn good story.
It's interesting because at first I thought maybe this was his take on M, because I just watched M, not the Fritz Lang version that was with Peter Lorre, but the remake that came out in the 50s, I believe, because I'm watching those film noirs, and it was listed as one to check out for sure. And I had actually watched the Fritz Lang one back in film school. That was one of the ones that they had us use. Again, because I think German Expressionism, and that's what we were studying at the time. But the remake was, I liked it. It was good, but where I'm going with it is about child murders as well, and how anybody could be, they viewed anybody. You start talking nicely to a kid, you're helping somebody, there's the murderer, and then just how it turns society and civilization onto people right away. And then when they find him, how they treat him, even though he says he's got a sickness, who it again, it's the joke on the show, and then who is the real monster here? Is it this person? Yes, he has a problem and he's done horrendous crimes, but then how society treats him is just as bad too.
Right.
And I was getting vibes of that as I was watching this movie progress. I'm like, is this kind of like an unofficial remake? But no, it, other than child murders and happening in a community and maybe people not being able to trust everybody, that's pretty much the only similarities, and then it just veers off into its own thing. But it's
Yeah.
intriguing and bizarre because of I wasn't sure what to make of it, because they had these little dolls and this intrigue. So like, again, it's interesting in that regard, and it also points to, then is it just this woman that's, it can't just be her, but maybe it is her. Maybe she's just killing these kids, but for what? Maybe the reason is what we're going to find out at the end, and that's going to be the whole guess. Oh my god, I just totally drew a blank there. But I guess like the reveal at the end. That's her, the reasoning for it. But no, it's not that. There's much more.
We
to
do
it.
find out though.
Yeah,
but we do find out what her reasons were for doing and we're wondering, is there a supernatural element in this movie or not? Is she taking these voodoo dolls and putting them in there, and she is somehow able to control unsuspecting people? Like, could it be for a minute there?
They allude to it. Yeah, they allude to that.
Are different people doing it?
Yeah, right. Yeah, but
on her behalf,
and
like not knowing.
But was her? Did they? Because they interrogate her, and her reasoning was that she was mad at the kids. Like she almost she pretty much draws more attention to herself, I think, at first, but then they realize no.
Right.
Again, I think they've got her.
Well,
and it's all the case is wrapped up until of course we realize we're given the end part. But she says that she essentially says that they were snooping around and whatever, and she really wanted them dead. No, I
because they desecrated.
Yeah,
she had her son buried, and she didn't want them to
she was doing some voodoo shit, but like witchy stuff. But because there were dolls and there's like pins involved and whatever, I took it as kind of voodoo. But that's when, if that is what it was, I like that. I can buy that. It's when they delve too much deep and they start doing all these chants and it becomes child's play, or the one that we just watched more recently or Shocker. And I'm like, wow, now you've gone off the rails with it.
Oh, I see.
This is when it's grounded and I can accept it. It's presented in a way that this is acceptable to me and I can buy it. And then it's like
simple.
It's when they have to go effects laden. It's like, they pull back the curtain, if you will, and they show too much more that it becomes just too silly. And those are the two examples. We just did Shocker a couple of shows ago, and Child's Play, that's been my biggest sort of argument against it, is it's just too silly when it gets into the voodoo stuff.
I think you think it's silly because it's a doll. If it wasn't a doll, would you think it was silly?
I think it's the
chanting,
the actual chanting. Yeah, the whole the build up to it is what is silly. It's like too much of a reveal. I think they could have alluded to things and then not. But again, back to this movie, because it's more simply presented. I think that's what makes it work.
Well, I'll tell you what, everything with her made sense and I understood it. It's still a mystery, but I also really like the reveal at the end and why the killer was doing what he was doing. That is cool too, because it's just in the background. In the beginning, it opens up and they're spying on the people having sex and everything else. And you see these kids just being that age kids when they're curious.
That's
about
what you did.
sex.
I mean, I did that.
Cigarette right.
Yeah.
And
so something,
but we understand.
You're walking by and you're looking at a window. You're not supposed to.
Yeah.
But then you'd be like, oh, what the hell's going on there?
Well, of course you're curious about it. They still tease the peeping Tom guy, though, which is the funny thing. They probably want to peep all they want, but at the same time, they're chaining at that guy, calling him a peeping Tom.
Yeah.
Because he's a grown man doing it. I guess it's okay to do when you're a kid, but when you're a grown man, you can't do it.
Yeah.
Even the kids. That's funny.
That was the first big red herring. Yeah. He was just the creeper of the town. Right. But No, and pretty much the films. I'm not saying there's no gore, but the gore at the is more at the end. Like the Fulci gore is reserved for that last
Yeah,
scene, which
which
did
is
make me
great.
chuckle. I can't say I didn't
Well,
laugh when when
it's
someone goes
cool
air.
though.
Why are we being cryptic? Why can't we say, like, I already kind of gave it up
Hey, if you
and
want.
whatever. Like, I mean, there's we spoil left, right, and center. So it's revealed that the priest is the killer. Dave, you could go into the reasons as to why, but I'm talking about specifically the when he goes airborne.
I love it.
And it's like a far away shot. He's like airborne and he falls off this, it goes off a cliff, but his face scrapes against the side of the cliff, not once, twice, maybe even thrice. Yes, thrice.
I think
And
so.
blood just, his face tears and blood just
It's
explodes. And
cool.
that's where the Fulci gore comes into effect. Holy crap, you scared the hell out of me. I have a background on, so I didn't see Carrie coming behind me. She scared the pulp out of me. Thank you. Look,
Amazing.
Timbits, everybody. I got you.
Timbits. Nice.
Yeah.
I got my
Thank
coffee
you, buddy.
here.
Oh
He's got
my
his
God.
Timbits.
She scared the bejesus out of me.
And I
Wow.
couldn't see her. That's the great part. Yeah. So I
Wow.
just saw you bug it out.
I got
Amazing.
a coffee and some Timbits. How
Nice.
Canadian.
Attaboy. Yeah. Hey. Oh, what was I going to ask you about Canada? Son of a gun.
Suing.
Oh,
Suing people.
whatever. Another time. Well, that's another story. No, there was something else. That's okay. We'll wait. We don't have the time anyway. But there was something about Canada I was curious about. Damn.
Sorry, I didn't mean to derail.
Oh,
but
well. No, you didn't derail. We're talking about the movie. Yeah, I like that stuff at the end. I like it, the slow-mo scene and the freaking face going up again. I mean, it's a very memorable ending to a movie. I'll tell you that.
Well,
He knows how to end a movie.
that, the kid submerged in water.
Yeah.
Sorry. The woman's face. Yes.
Mhm.
And that reveal, like, that's taking like a Hitchcock death that would have been like the main villain getting killed, but adding the Fulci touch to
Right.
it, if you will.
Yes.
Like this sort of epic thing. Well, he's not just going to fall to his death. We're going to see him fall, and we're going to see the cliff take off his face, pretty much.
Right.
Beautiful. In
No, it was
a
good
horrific way.
Yep.
Sorry.
Although the kid.
And Dave, I apologize. And the reason I'm putting this on you is it's a first time watch, and I watched this in what I admittedly, this is bad of me, and I was going to go back to rewatch it. I just didn't have time. What was the reveal from the priest standpoint again, as to why? Just because they were being bad kids and they weren't being correct, and like what was the reveal?
Well, he wanted
with
to
him?
he wanted to keep them pure. He
Okay,
wanted them.
so it was nothing more than okay. I wanted to make sure I wasn't missing something, that there was
Well,
more
there's
to
more
it
to
than
it.
that. Okay,
Because
but what is the more to? Okay,
because if you look around, there's all kinds of debauchery going on. There's these girls that are going up and they're sleeping with these guys, and people are aware of it, and they see that's going on. Then
Yeah.
they see the witch over here. Then they see the one guy who's the peeping Tom, and he's the town idiot doing other stuff. And then you have the poor little girl who's actually his younger sister, who
Well,
is
okay, so it's just an
slow
extension.
and has
It's
her
like
way. So it's like
the
basically
core values are done in the town. Like,
Well,
you
it's
can
not
see that
even
it's
that. Well, yeah, to a degree, but he wants to take them out before they grow up and become. He wants them to be able to go to heaven in his mind. He wants them to be able to ascend. But if they're going to continue to go in the direction that they're seeing everything in this town, and this town is just full of mayhem, it's just like he wants to keep them pure, absolve them of their sins while they're young, and they haven't done any real sins yet, except a couple small things, so that they don't have to grow up to be there, and then they have no chance to get into heaven because he cared for the kids so much.
So
it's a
religion
warped
is evil.
sensibility.
Religion is evil again. It's actually, it's not
Right.
it seems early for that to be in film, but it really wasn't. As I'm learning and sort of educating myself, going back and like idiot film noir or whatever, like there's certain, you'll see this element is actually in movies from a very early age, that which is why maybe they might have not been the core idea, whereas this is really, I guess, more in the forefront. But it's interesting because I figure 72 is not necessarily early, but in retrospect feels early because we're still dealing with it. If it's presented in a movie nowadays,
Mhm.
it's controversial. So when you think
Well,
back
because
at
everything now,
72, yeah,
well, yeah,
this
because
is
now
yeah.
they bash you over the head with it. It's different, and there's so much more of that sensitivity. That's part of me. That sensibility out into the world about how evil religion is. That we're constantly hearing about it all the damn time because the social media and certain parties that freaking want to vilify everything, and it goes both ways though. But it's like, again, this is only the third time I've seen it. And I said only because it's me, but it's like somebody else who's seen the movie that knows it up and down, maybe like a Moods or a Dave Park or somebody, they could probably have a better explanation than the one I just gave for the priest killing. There might be more
No,
layers to
no,
it. I'm just
I
going by the
and you
very
might be
basic
right.
thought I had,
Yeah,
you
you
know?
might be right. And again, it was an extension of what I thought. I just the purity factor of of being exposed. That's what I got from it. I wasn't sure if I missed something else. And you're most definitely right. There's probably another layer that
Yeah.
we're not even peeling back. And again, first time watch, like I said, that's what I got from it. But it was still playful in the sense of like you had the requisite amount of red herrings, and maybe more so than this one than ever. But I was like, okay, well, it can't be so straightforward. That's why I thought maybe it's this priest, but I wasn't really thinking like it's seriously. It's just like, it's got to be this because it's just be too easy
Right.
to go the other way. But I do like how they go there and
Mhm.
they get this explanation, and she essentially bears her soul as to why it could easily be the witch, but how it wasn't just that simple, and it went into a whole
It
different
was
realm.
sad. The whole thing with the witch is really sad to me. That when she does die, when the guy and they first come back and she gets let off and she goes to the thing and then they close the door on her hand and she looks at the one guy and she says, "Why?" And that's all she says. And then it's just a freaking beating. Oh my god! And how she dies slow and climbs up the rock and everything. And she stops by and looks at the car driving by and the little kids in it and the family. And it's like a life that she never had and never could have. And it's just like her last thoughts. And it's just it really makes me sad when she that's a sad thing. And it's also really sad is the parents grieving and when the one woman's flipping out in the church that the killer is in here and all that. That's some heavy shit, man.
Yep.
So there were still some emotion to this movie.
No, for
There's just
sure.
like different,
It's sad to me that he not in a way when you're an artist or you're so he's a director, Fulci, and he deems this his favorite film, which is great. I'm not I don't want to take anything away from it, but to know that he directed
Mhm.
films for almost 2 decades longer, and so that's still his like I guess he was always trying to recapture that magic
Yeah. Oh, for sure. No, but this
for
is
him
so
because
cool. This is
for
different.
horror fans, you've got people that like City of the Living Dead, you know, House by the
Love
Cemetery,
them.
whatever it may
Loves
be. Like the Beyond
great
is
stuff.
a lot of people
Right.
put on the
It's
pedestal. So
different
I'm just
though.
saying, New York Ripper, like there's
Right.
different and many more. I know because the guy's filmography is fucking
And many
huge
more.
and
Right.
many more, and so much more. But no, I'll have to check this out again. But
Yeah.
I don't even know what movie I was mistaking this for. But it's not what I thought it was. And I when I put it on, I'm like, oh fuck! As you know, 15 minutes in, I'm like, yep, never seen this. So pleasant
And how about
surprise.
the
But I,
reveal with the
as in the
duck? With the freaking duck head and the
yeah,
little girl and all that shit was great. And that whole
yeah,
thing with that girl and how about there's some little comedy. Every time they come showing a picture of that duck, Donald Duck's head in the
yeah,
paper, they play that piano note.
yeah.
Boom. It was almost done comically at one point. It was almost like dun dun dun, like something you'd see as like a joke. I honestly think they might have the last two times they did it just to be funny because they showed a picture in the paper of that duck head like six times, and every time they would go away, they would come back.
What
Dong.
what is it with
Like what
Fulci and
the?
Duck, and a duck and like
I know.
in the
See,
trauma, like or like some
I know.
significance around it,
New
when
York
it
Ripper.
rears its head in New York Ripper, which if you explain that movie as we've talked about even on the show, and many other people have discussed it before, like if you should tell the premise to somebody, he'd be like, "What the fuck you talking about?" Like if I was to tell my
Right.
buddy this is what this movie's about, he'd be like, "What the hell? I'm not checking it out." But you've got to see it, and
Right.
whatever. I mean, it's different. It's handled different here, but when you see it
Well,
there,
yeah,
it's
because
just
it's not
interesting.
comical.
Yeah, it's interesting
In
to have it come back in a film 10 years later
right. How
in a
about this?
different.
In the first shot, you see a lizard. And his movie before was
Yeah,
a woman in a lizard skin. So
yeah,
it's like he references his other movies loosely, or
yeah,
maybe we're looking deep into it. I don't know, but I think it's cool.
yeah.
It's cool of Fulci to do that stuff. But yeah, the duck thing in the other movie, and it's not comical. Like nowadays, if somebody made a movie and a guy was quacking in a duck's voice, it would be
Yeah.
ridiculous. It would be like watching what's that movie? You know,
Psycho
the
Gorman.
the greasy killer, whatever. Psycho Gorman, the freaking the greasy
The
strangler,
greasy
whatever,
killer.
whatever.
Same
Something that
thing.
I'm not interested in seeing. Cocaine Bear, maybe for that man. Either way, it would be goofy. The premise sounds goofy, but in 1972, 19 whatever they made New York Ripper, whatever, 80, right? Either way, it
82.
was what it
Yeah.
was.
82
Yeah,
Ripper, 72 this,
yeah,
a decade apart, but
yeah.
like there's a bit more of appreciation. Like as I watch more and more films, because I would have said I'm like kind of like you. I've seen Fulci films, but I've seen the ones that were popular. The ones I kind of mentioned before. I didn't see
Yeah,
Contraband and everything else. Like this is
right,
because they've been recommended to us, um,
right.
requested that we watch them, or I am trying to fill a backlog. And I would say that Fulci, there's been some blind spots. There's still some 80s blind spots.
Sure.
In fact, when we talk about the next movie, it actually opened my eyes to other movies that he was part of too. So that it's
There you go.
interesting. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure that this movie probably deserves a higher rating. But
Hmm.
upon first watch, I said if this was good. I would definitely have to check it out again. I'm 7.5. I I think it was, like I said, a very good movie. I could see why some people might consider this as best, but for me, it was just very good. Would check it out again. We would
Right on.
recommend it. It might be dated for some, but for fans specifically, if you're fans of Italian cinema, I think you would enjoy it.
Absolutely. And it's funny that you gave it that rating because that's what I gave it last year on 22 shots when it was like it was the second time I saw it, but I want to feel like it's the first because the first time I saw it was like 3 years before, and I just watched the Blu-ray because I bought it, but didn't remember a whole lot about it. So last time I watched the movie on 22 shots, had discussions with them and everything, and came to the conclusion that this is something I have to watch again. I think I might like it more. And sure enough, I do. I watch it this time, and it's like an 8. It's an 8 out of 10 now. So I've come up a little more. I really appreciate it now,
Yeah,
much more so. It's a really good story.
like I
So.
said, yeah, it's well done. Like I said, thumbprint all over it.
Mhm.
You can really tell that it's just a Fulci film. Like I swear, you take those credits off.
Right.
You just do that like like that should be trivia. Is what movie is this? Just based on now, you can't show Kevin Bacon getting an arrow through his neck, or the kid, or in this case, in this movie, the kid is submerged in water. That's maybe too much on the nose. But I mean, not
Right.
everybody knows that image. So I mean,
No.
maybe for some that might be like the third or fourth hint, but like just to see like even just opening credit sequence, but without the credits, just the imagery behind to say what
Hmm.
movie is this? It'd be interesting. But yeah,
For
good
sure.
good film, good film. Definitely need to check it out again. I'm sure we're missing some some aspect to it that could be, you could deep dive into it even a bit further, but definitely keeps you guessing.
Yep. For sure. Good stuff.
Oh, I'm
The
not
next
even
movie,
remotely
that's another
prepared.
story.
Okay, so
Okay.
the next movie, funny enough, if you remember when we first started this show, and you said, and I don't know why I said that this was my one of my favorite Fulcis. Well, I do know why. I do know why because it's gory,
The gore.
and
Yeah.
it was fun to
gore,
watch
gore
for me at
gags.
the fun. I do know exactly know why, but for me to say that it was because it would probably been the most recent one I watched because there's no way that this would have trumped House by the Cemetery, The Beyond, or City of the Living Dead.
No.
No question. And
Or
that's not even
zombie.
to say like New York Ripper and all, and even Don't Torture
New York
Duckling for
Ripper.
that matter. What I didn't know at the time, and what I've learned since, is that this is really like kind of a spookies in a way,
Well, that's
that
why I wasn't
they
excited about it.
they
Right.
slapdashed a bunch of other movies together, and he
Right.
filmed a frame. But there, there's some silliness here that doesn't make sense, that they don't explain. That still falls under
Right.
the reality of what they're
Why?
trying to do here. I love the meta nature. This was meta before Scream
Yes.
and whatever.
Yes.
And I was going to say this feels like a 70s or 80s film, but I think the reason that does is because most of it was filmed in the 80s, but only a couple of years before. Like most of the movies that they took footage from are from
Right.
88 range. I think again, this might not be the full list, but so Cat in the Brain is
The
what we're
film
discussing.
stock.
Sorry, maybe let me introduce this. I didn't even freaking introduce this. A
Oh
Cat
yeah.
in the
Yeah,
Brain,
that's okay.
1990. Lucio Fulci, a horror film director, is stalked by a mad psychiatrist slash serial killer bent on killing
Huh.
people to model the killings after the director's gory death scenes from his movies. Great meta idea. And again, that's
Great
probably why
premise.
maybe that's why I
Man.
liked it too, because I was into that at that time. And not many movies were
Right.
doing it. Like we talked about Popcorn came out a year later. We had maybe Jason Liz doing the wink, wink, nudge, nudge, and there was a handful here and there. There were other
Mm-hmm.
meta movies, but Scream
Yeah.
at that point hadn't come out and really made its mark, and kind of New Nightmare hadn't come out at this point either to steal that kind of thunder. But here's the
No,
list of
I'm
movies that
with you.
it uses footage from. And again, I apologize, Dave, because I know that there must be a delay, as you mentioned, because I am talking over you a bit. But Sodama's Ghost, Touch of Death, which I did watch. So I watched Touch of Death because it was on YouTube. I was able to watch it. Sodama's Ghost was on YouTube as well. No, I'm lying. It wasn't on YouTube. Bloody Psycho was on YouTube from '89, and that movie though was 100% in Italian, so that was a fun watch. And what I took from that is that they stole maybe the look of the corpse, because there was nothing else that I recognized from being in the movie. Hansel and
Mm.
Gretel in 1990, Massacre
Mm.
1989, and not all, these were not all directed by Fulci, by the way. Some of these were directed by other
Right.
people, but he presented them kind of like an Alfred Hitchcock presents, and they were direct to video movies. And then the last one was Mario Bianchi's The Murder Secret, 1988. So I don't know if that was all of them, but so a lot of the footage you're seeing in this movie are stolen scenes taken directly from these movies, pieced together, and then Lucio Fulci framed and made like a kind of like an anthology, like what is it, the bookmark, the bookends, and the sort of frame throughout that would intercut between these. So the story of the psychiatrist, of course, killing, and him going to see him, and his footage is all the new stuff, and everything else is just
Mm-hmm.
taken right from these movies. The one fish out of water
Yeah.
sequence, the one real fish out of water sequence, is when Fulci's in the car gunning down the vagrant. Because do they even explain who that vagrant is in Cat in the Brain? They explain it in Touch of Death, but I don't
He's
know
a
if they
vagrant.
actually. Yeah, like the guy that he's chasing that has the tattoo on his
I,
forehead, and he's
I thought he
running down
worked
the.
for him.
Well, it just comes out of nowhere in Cat in the Brain, right? Am I wrong in saying that? Because I watched Cat in the Brain, I'm
No,
like, where did they introduce this guy? So then when I
I thought it
found
was
out this
someone on
was
his crew
okay, well then when I found out it was
because he
a
called him Mr.
hodgepodge,
Fulci.
yeah,
Maybe it is. I don't
yeah,
fucking know. I wasn't trying to make sense of it at that point. I was trying to understand why he was doing the killing at that point because the psychiatrist was nowhere near him to press that button. So that's why I got confused. I liked the gore a lot. I liked the premise is fucking great. Like the first 20 minutes of him having the stuff, and I'm a director and it's coming into my head and I'm seeing this and I'm seeing that was great. And then they introduced the psychiatrist and his disgruntled affair with his wife and everything. And I could see that, okay, he's a psycho, but he hypnotized them. And at this point, I'm like, oh, this is great. This guy, this psychiatrist wants to kill, but so he keeps his hands clean. He's going to hypnotize Fulci to do the killing when he presses this button and hears this sound. So I'm thinking the rest of the movie, Fulci's going to be the killer on this guy's request.
Yeah,
And it
like
doesn't turn out that way. He ends up doing the killing instead. I'm like, wait a minute, then why did you do that? And then other times it was such stupid plot convenience that twice Fulci just happened to be in the area where this guy was killing somebody.
yes,
It was such a
it's
great premise and a great idea. And it would have been great if they did what I thought. Did you think when the hypnotized guy, when the psychiatrist hypnotized him, and he said, when you hear this sound, you're going to commit evil deeds? Didn't you think that's what the movie was going to be? Basically,
yes
like
and no,
him
because
controlling Fulci?
the damn guy spells out everything. There's 2 scenes of him
Yeah,
spurting off exposition dialogue that was like worse than Freddy versus Jason, where he's
Ridiculous.
like, "You have made these movies, and now I'm going to emulate the deaths exactly like these movies, so that they think it's you." I was
Right.
like, I mean, they could have done without it and kept it more of a mystery. So I think what we're
Mhm.
supposed to get is that he's using that button to get Fulci, to almost mind control him, to get him to the areas where the deaths are happening, so that there would be a connection. That's, I think,
But
what
they
they're
only
trying
show
to
him.
do. I
Yeah, but
know.
they don't show it
That's
that way. It's not
I
executed that way. They show him doing
I
it
know.
one time in the movie, and Fulci's already there, and then he presses the button, and then when he does press the button, Fulci doesn't do shit. He doesn't even kill anybody when he does. It could have been so easy. It would have been such a cool
Fulci's
story.
actually good. It's almost like
I know he is. Yeah.
like I liked him in this. You feel kind of sorry for him. He's good.
Me
He
too.
looks good. I mean,
Yep.
it really.
Looks
You
healthy
almost
too.
think, did Wes Craven see this and think, hey, although this movie's maybe not that successful overall, maybe I could take this premise, put myself in the movie and make it about this or whatever. I don't know, because there is a
Right.
little bit about this. I do like to play around with that's, and they again, it's exposition dialogue about saying that silly notion that violence in movies makes people create violence in real life. So they're very sure
Mhm.
not to have the psychiatrist know or watch Fulci's films, except if Fulci seems to be with him and they're watching him on the TV. That was just I think a way of wedging in more movie footage of death, so that we would
And
be able
just
to watch
showing
the
that he
death
sees
scene.
more.
Yeah. And then he's talking about it, but they're watching it together. But I agree, there
Right.
could have been a better setup. Not setup is decent. A better payoff.
Yeah.
Presentation. I get what they were doing here. It was literally putting all this hodgepodge together and framing it with a new movie and recycling it essentially, which
Mhm.
I'm typically against. But because it was like they using gore, though, one thing they did was, it's almost like they repeated the gore scenes 3 times, I think, throughout. Like all of a sudden when he starts really thinking he's going insane at the end, Fulci this is, and going down the downward spiral, even though he hasn't done anything, they re-show the death sequences that we just saw 5 minutes prior, like twice again.
Okay.
So, but that kid getting his head sawed off,
Oh, great.
amazing. Like the gore effects are amazing. You'll notice though that when you watch that sequence when it happens, the close up of the chainsaw when it revs up is the scene from when the guy's working on the chainsaw outside, and Fulci thinks that all that gore is happening. It's like it literally is a shot of him picking it up. You can see his plaid sort of jacket picking up the saw, and then I think they just needed a shot to link the saw, and then you see it hit the kid's neck and then take the kid's head off. It was really funny, really edited bizarrely there as well. But again, what would you expect from essentially a hodgepodge? But I respect the idea. I kind of respect the idea of what they were trying to do. It just doesn't really work. It kind of falls apart. Like you're right. He just sort of shows up. And that scene, so the killer in Touch of Death is driving the car and he's killing the vagrant because the vagrant actually saw him dispose of a dead woman. So what they've done here is they don't show the driver and they just cut the Fulci driving the car. But all of a sudden he's gunning down this vagrant that just says, "Mr. Fulci, stop, Mr. Fulci." And I guess you're supposed to guess, like you said, that he knows him from being on the film set, but there's no introduction to this character at all. And then he guns him over, runs him over, and that footage is all from Touch of Death. And then the scene's done. He comes out. That's what it is. He comes out, looks at his car, realizes he hasn't run over anything. It's just the mufflers there or whatever. Yeah. It's just to show, again, that he's imagining the stuff in his descent into madness, but still the scene is set up so bizarrely. So I guess that's
Yes.
the point, is that it's just there, but you don't know why.
Well, I don't understand why he went to that guy's house and he saw all those dead bodies there. His wife, his kid was murdered, this and that. I'm like, how come he's seeing that?
Because it is supposed to be that the trauma he's going through is making him manifest these visions, and he thinks he's seeing death. He thinks he's creating that. He's killing people. It's blurring the lines of
Right.
reality and fiction. That part's cool. Again, I just think it's very messy the way they present it.
Right.
And then that's what gets him.
That's
So
it.
he tells the guy, "Your family's dead." He goes, "My family's. I just left my family. They're safe and sound." And I guess
Right.
he's a police detective, so he trails them because he's thinking, "What the hell's going on here?" And then realizes that the psychiatrist is following him, and that's how they get him. But it's a very anticlimactic ending. Like, you'd figure that there'd be this big,
Yeah.
almost showdown, and it's like, "Yeah, we found out the psychiatrist was trailing you, so he's dead." And then
Right.
they got to him, and he's bullet ridden and dead. You're like, "What the hell?" But then again, they play around with the idea that maybe Fulci is gone a little crazy after all, because he takes that girl that wants to be in the movie. I think it's the psychiatrist's front office person.
Well, yeah, but then they do a swerve after.
Yeah, I
And then
love
ends
that.
happily.
So you think
So I was
he's chainsawing her to death, and then using
Right.
the body parts as bait, and then that
I would
happens
have
to be
preferred
yeah.
it ended
Well,
that way because then afterwards they showed them sitting up there and there was like a film crew on a boat next to them. So
yeah.
I don't know what they were doing. I just
No,
wish it would have ended
they're
that
filming
way.
Cat in the Brain or Nightmare Concert. That was filming the movie that we were watching. I guess
Right.
it's what it was supposed to be. And then they say, "Okay, we
Yeah.
got it." So it was a swerve. There's another ending supposedly that as the boat runs away, you hear a revving of the chainsaw again and the girl screaming. So that as if he did go crazy after all at the very
I'd
end.
prefer that.
Like
I'd prefer
another
that.
another swerve.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I kind of like the movie within the movie. It fits exactly this what they're trying to present here. It's by no means, it's so weird. It's such a messy film. It's not one that, because it's such a hodgepodge, it's very difficult to kind of get a flow or rhythm to it. But it's watchable. And because they show you the
Oh
gory
yeah.
bits from all these other movies, there's a lot of gore, like a lot of gore. Some better than others,
Yeah.
and some more effective than others. But it's yeah. But I get it. It definitely is a hodgepodge.
Yeah. I'll tell you what though, I did like the gore, of course, in most instances. I love when he was seeing things and like they were playing like these noises like people moaning and stuff. Oh,
Yeah.
I loved it. Every time they did it, it was kind of funny, but I loved it. It was just all these people moaning. It almost sounded sexual a few
Yeah,
times, like
yeah,
an orgy was going
yeah.
on. You know?
Well, that's Fulci.
It was
He likes to
cool.
blend.
Then
He
there was
likes to
that
blend
sex
that
stuff, remember?
Oh yeah.
When he was doing all that sex, I was like, a couple of those things I didn't understand. They could have been taken out of that movie with the Nazi guy filming the freaking people having like an orgy in that room.
That's
And
another
all
movie.
that stuff was
That might have been
unnecessary.
bloody. Well, it was one of those other movies.
Well,
Um,
it's not necessary.
Not bloody,
Ultimately.
but it might have been Bloody Psycho, or
Yeah.
so maybe that's
Well,
what.
it's an identity crisis.
Yeah.
You know, I get all that. I don't know. I think they went too far a couple of times. Like when they said, "Oh, he attacked that woman that was there," and something else when they were there to interview him for something, and I was like, "Hey, he didn't have to go that far. Just let the freaking things be in his head and see things on his own, and they don't have to have that Nazi sex scene or whatever they were calling it." And I just some weird decisions, you know. Of course, you get a pig in the first few minutes.
Absolutely. But you again, it's kind of like you fucks. You just recycled your own movies, and you kind of want to like. But it's such a great idea. Like, I've got all this shit. These were direct-to-video
Yeah.
movies. No one saw it. We can make one more film, use this stuff, and go. Part of me hates that, and part of me was like, why not? You got it. Like, why not use it? I think, like I said, though, it's a
Yeah.
little slapdash, a little sloppy, or very sloppy, but it's still somewhat, it's enjoyable to some degree. There's still enjoyment you can have here, but it's not a good movie
Yeah.
by any means. It's not one of his best. It's not, but I mean,
That's fair.
I remember thinking that the psychiatrist, when he was holding the knife and coming in the smile, I remember that like, just like that witch from Don't Torture Duckling, made an impression on me when I first saw it way back when. And I
Oh,
remember
okay.
being
When he had
freaked
the
out
hood
by
on?
it. Yeah, and then whatever. And I'm like,
Yeah.
this is terrifying. Why am I like, I'm watching it now and silly. And I don't find it terrifying at all. But something, and I wasn't young. It was 1990, and I saw it in the 90s whenever it came out on video, because I saw it then.
Hmm.
But that stuck with me. And I remember being thinking,
Wow.
hey, this is gory, and B, this guy's kind of terrifying. And again, at that age,
Right.
not one iota that this was a hodgepodge of film and whatever. I just thought this was the
Yeah.
lucid Fulci way.
Right. No, I'm with you. I could understand that, and I didn't see it till just now. So, and I kept hearing that it was half. I don't know why. Either way, I still liked it for what it was. It could have been so much better with that freaking concept that they had, But the gore was cool. The story was okay when you could follow it, and I don't know. It's a cool idea. That's all I know.
Yeah.
Ultimately, there was something else I wanted to say about it, but I can't remember now. Something about. I'm glad I got
Your
to see it because I want to see all the Fulci movies. So now,
yeah.
because of this podcast, we've seen a lot, and we're catching up. And now I can reference. And I still haven't seen like a bad movie from Fulci. I don't think. So I can definitely say that about him. I don't think he's made a bad movie that I've seen yet.
And a lot of
Some
people
it's
think this is,
varying
oh, I
degrees.
watched Touch of Death. It's on YouTube. It's on YouTube, but it's
Okay.
slightly cut. I'll tell you that you can buy it. You can rent it on YouTube, but it was there was a freebie version of it, but I could tell it was cut because I saw the footage in Cat in the Brain, Cat in the Brain,
Right.
and you could
Okay.
so that's the trade off. But since you've already seen the footage, you know what's going on.
Yeah.
But that orgasm
Von
woman, the
Trier
one
did
that
the same
sings,
thing.
the woman that
Mhm.
sings and is like, oh, and he finally just strangles her to death. That's from Touch of Death.
Oh
That's all from Touch
yeah.
of Death. But
See, I didn't
again,
need that scene in the
like,
opera thing, and they were slapping
it's
each
all
other.
padding. That's all from that
I don't
movie.
need it.
And it's in this movie, it's all padding. It's
Damn.
that's the one thing. It's like the concept is good. You wonder why they couldn't have maybe pulled from some of his other movies. Like maybe there's only rights issues, so
Of
you can only
course,
pull from
that's
these
probably what it
more
is.
direct to video ones that were done a few years prior.
Well, that's why
Because
they're not released, those movies.
yeah,
The ones you're talking about, you said you're watching on YouTube. So you're not getting an arrow freaking treatment. You know what I'm saying? It isn't like
no, but
zombie
you
or
can rent them.
freaking.
You can rent the first two that I mentioned, Sodom's Ghost and Touch of Death. You can rent those.
Well, true, but yeah, but now this is 2023. When
Yeah,
they made
true.
this in 1990, who
Yeah,
knows if they were available anywhere. So
yeah.
that could be it. It could have been maybe he wasn't sure that those things were going to be seen. So he wanted to get some cool gore gags out there. And this was going to be something that maybe the public could consume. So those gore scenes don't go to waste and it could get international exposure. Could have been that simple.
Yeah,
Maybe there was legal rights issues, and he's like, "Well, let me put these good gore scenes somewhere where I know they're going to be seen." Could have been the whole emphasis for this whole movie. You
yeah.
don't know that, you know.
Anyway, I'm a 6 out of 10. I mean, it's still I still would recommend it. Fulci fans like I've seen the ratings. They're all over the place. Some people give it a 1, which is like would be my equivalent of a Spookies. Like they're throwing it there, but there's more. There's still more to enjoy. Even if you just take this as a best of gore effects, you're going to get
Right.
some good there. And they the wraparound or the frame film works well enough to keep you interested throughout. It just like you said, it's not an 8. It's not great. It's not, but it's decent. It's watchable, and it's a recommend for Fuji fans if you haven't seen it, and for anybody that likes gore that doesn't want to track down all these other movies.
Yep, and it's short, hour and 24. I guess that's why they padded it. Otherwise, it would have
Yeah,
been an hour and 4 minutes. You know what I mean? But I
yeah.
would have been okay
Well,
with
this day
that.
and
But
age, who cares? Yeah,
right, well, yeah. But back once upon a time, they had to have it feature length and everything
yeah.
else, and yeah. But yeah, I'm at a 6.5, and I only give it a little half a point higher than you because 6.5 means I'm willing to watch it again, and I am willing to watch it again. It's just that it was
Yeah.
the first view was too confusing. I wanted to double check with you and make sure that I wasn't missing something, or I don't know if I was the confused one or it's a confusing movie. Apparently, it's a confusing movie that has some issues. So I didn't even write a rating down. I wanted to hear what you had to say, make sure I wasn't nuts. So I'm still comfortable with a 6.5 because it is something I would give another shot to. So,
Yeah. And Touch
but
of
that's that.
Death, Touch of Death is okay. It's nothing great. And
Right.
again, for watch for free on YouTube, It's worth your time. I think it's an hour and 15, the cut that they've got on there, because I think they probably
Oh,
sped it up so they wouldn't get a copyright infringement, I'm assuming. But and again, I said the gore is a little cut in that though. So if you can see Cat in the Brain, you'll see the uncut stuff, or just rent it and watch it in all its glory, I guess. But
right.
again, I don't think, it's there's a reason, like you've heard of A Cat in the Brain, at least being, because I think it was one of the last Fulci films, correct, before his
Right.
death.
Yeah, I think it was like 3 more.
Touch of
Yeah.
Death, I don't really remember ever hearing about. I heard about
No.
it because of it being featured in this movie. So
There you go. I'm still getting acquainted.
Again, if your moods or a huge Fulci fan, you'll be like, "How have you not heard of this stuff?" But I'm just saying, I consider
Right.
myself a very big horror fan, as do you. And there's certain Fulci films I'm saying like, "Oh, I never heard of that one," or whatever. Like I said, his
Right.
filmography is fucking huge.
Well, it's like Mickey. That guy's got so many freaking movies, Some directors do. It is what it is. So, but we're getting there. I'm catching up on Fulci. It's good to know. So far, I haven't been disappointed completely at all. So that's good to know. Consistent director so far. So
for sure.
But I guess that's that. We're not going to have time to do anything else. We got to get out of here.
Yes.
Next month, it's going to be October next show. So we don't have any real plans for Halloween month yet, but I do know that Saw's coming out. I'll see it this week. Exorcist is coming out the week after. So maybe we'll talk about new movies here if we get to see them. And
maybe have some guests too. We'll
hopefully
on that.
Hopefully
We've been talking to some people.
Yeah.
So we have some surprises.
Yeah, it'll be great. So all right, well, we'll see you guys in October. We love you. Thank you for all the support and everything you guys do. And if you weren't listening, we wouldn't do it. So peace out. Manchichi. We love you. And Sea Waves, goodbye. See ya.